What's going on, people? Welcome to the live reaction. Roy Hodgson has officially joined the club after rumours going on ever since Vieira has left. He is now being confirmed in the early hours of the morning. Palace did confirm that Roy Hodgson is going to be our new manager. I'll be reading out the statement and more, but as always, the lines will be open later on down the line, later on down the show, so you guys can join in and have your say. But if you're watching this on replay, leave down your comments in the comment section down below. If you enjoy it, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Let's keep the channel growing as well. And by the way, before we start the show, I just want to say to everyone, of course, more people are going to join, so I might have to repeat it. There's a few things that I'm not going to accept today. I don't care if you're Roy in, Roy out. Don't get personal towards him, there's no need to get personal towards him. It's not his fault that we're in this position. And I know some people are frustrated, but let's not do that. I'm not going to accept that at all. You can have your say towards him, but keep it within the limits. Don't abuse Roy for coming back to the job because it's not his fault. And two, if you're Roy in, Roy out, parish in, parish out, I don't care. Join the show, have your say. That's how it is. It don't matter. There's no agendas out here. I'm going to have my own opinion. T's going to have his own opinion. AJ's going to have his own opinion. By the end of the day, it's going to be based on what you guys say as well. There's no correct answer. So whether you're in, out, happy, not happy, let us know what you guys think. But look, let me read the statement that club did release earlier on today. It reads as following, that Roy Hodgson has been appointed the Palace manager until the end of the season, with Paddy McCarthy taking the role as his assistant manager. And Ray Lewington is coming back to the club as a first-team coach. Dean Kiley will remain in the position as the goalkeeping coach as well. Let me start off with UT. Roy, back at the club. Paddy McCarthy as his number 2, not Ray Lewington. How does that make you feel that is finally confirmed?
What's done is done, man. It's just now we just got to focus on these 10 matches and stay up, man. I ain't gonna cry over spilled milk at this point. It is what it is. Decisions have been made, and at this point, I'm very much of the feeling that you got to get behind your club and try and move forward.
Yeah, look, I agree, but I'll say my thoughts in just a 2 seconds. But for you, AJ, Roy coming back to the club, of course, I'm not going to act like he's the most inspiring signing. It isn't. But he understands Palace. He's also a Palace fan. I've said this as I started the show. It's not his fault that we're in this position. It's the people that make the decisions. Roy's clearly, I'll say this, would Roy join another club if he was a Palace at this current moment of time? I don't think so. He was, he had his time at Watford. I feel like he was done after that. But, he feels like he can help out Palace and, Parish called upon him. But for you, AJ, Roy coming back until the end of the season, do you think that is what could potentially keep us up?
That's why I'm wearing black, man. It's for the funeral. I'm only playing. I think at the end of the day, Roy's wouldn't have got to come into this blindly. He knows some of the players. He can get some of the best out of some of these players. He is quite good at sort of squeezing out the best of what he can get with what we have. I will still be at the games, still supporting the team, still supporting the boys. And I have to support Roy. He's the manager now. It is what it is. My personal feelings towards the structure and the and how things have played out, I've already sort of said my piece on that. But at the end of the day, if he's the man in the dugout, man, then we have to all get behind him and do what we can and, get the 3 or 4 wins that's required for us to stay in the Premier League. And then in the summer, we rebuild from there.
Exactly. And I think it will depend on what kind of Roy that we get. I think with staying up, let us know what you guys think in the live comment section as well. I'll be reading them out in just a bit. But in terms of staying up, yeah, I think it pretty much depends on what Roy we get. For me, disappointment doesn't make sense to an extent that we're struggling to score goals and we're bringing a defensive manager when defense wasn't really our issue under Vieira. That doesn't make sense. Vieira's gone. I'm done. It's over. There's no point crying about it. It's over. But I'm looking at the bigger picture, the appointment in itself. But then it goes higher up. But don't worry, we'll be talking about the board and getting your thoughts on the board and how you guys feel about certain members or at the club, because I know a lot of people are frustrated at Steve Parish. So you'll have your opportunity to come on and have your say. But we're going to start off with Roy anyways. But for me, in terms of how I feel about it, I think, look, there are some positives and some negatives as well. Look, the positives, I'll start off with that. The positives are that he knows the players. some of the players at the squad, and some of the players will know how he likes to work. So the adjustment period shouldn't take that long. Wilf scored 11 goals under him, despite being crazy defensive as a manager. He still managed to find goals under him. Right now, I'll take Wilf goals because he hasn't been performing. I'll take 1 or 2 at this rate. It's been absolutely dreadful over the last, past 3 weeks, and he's got better players to work with. So if you count all them 3 things together, then you'll suspect that towards the end of times, yes, it didn't work out well, but surely things should be better than that because we've got better players. Some of these players know what to expect, and we got players that were successful under him, even though, as a period, I don't know if it was the most enjoyable football, but it did work to a certain extent. Now, the negatives is uninspiring, disappointment, and this not on Roy Hodgson. Once again, I want to reiterate this. My frustration is not on Roy. We have to, well, for me anyways, I have to be behind the next 10 games. We have to stay up. That's the most important thing as objective as a football club. Us as fans to be behind Roy and back the boys. Let's stay up, and then afterwards we can have the talks, which I want to go into right now quickly. The uninspiring thing about it is the fact that it came from the board. This as a succession plan is absolutely embarrassing. It's absolutely embarrassing that it's taken 13 months and that Roy Hodgson is the best name that we can come up with. And also there's been reports suggesting that the co-owners didn't agree on this. So, based on yesterday's stream that me and T done, people saying that majority agreed. That isn't the case based on that, but we'll go into that later on down the show as well. But for you guys, positives and negatives. Let's start off with positives. I'll start with UT. Positives, do you agree with some of the points I make? Is there any other positives that you can think about this signing? It's only 10 games.
You did mention the continuity that he has with some of the players that are already on the team. I know there's a lot of people that have the feel that Roy will have the opportunity or the ability to get Zaha going and get Eze back going. So there is that piece that he's had some familiarity with a good amount of the people, or a good amount of players on the team already. Looking forward to hearing Ray screaming on the sideline. I think that'll be fun. That's always a fun thing to hear during games. And then I do have a bit of admiration for Roy being willing to come back because for lack of a better phrasing, this is kind of a shit show, and for him to say, hey, I'm gonna step in, I'm gonna give it all I got to keep because I care about this club. You know what I'm saying? That's the kind of thing I feel he did with the move. It's like, hey, I care about this club. I'm gonna help y'all out because obviously y'all down bad right now. You know what I'm saying? So at least you got somebody that's willing to be there to try and support us. So I appreciate it for that. But I think there are some positives to have with it, and hopefully things play out to where we can be successful and, like you said, get those 3 to 4 wins that we need.
Yeah, exactly. 3 to 4 wins, but yeah, as I said, but I'll talk about it later on down the show anyways. As I said, it's not if you're. We'll talk about the board later on. Look, I'm going to open up the lines in just a second, but for you, AJ, age was. I don't want to get into age because it's a factor, and the only negative about it, not because he's 75 years old, that's not the problem, but maybe in terms of how he can, because he had an older squad. Remember we had a very older squad that when Roy was in charge. So the age aspect of things, it's not the case of he's just 75 years old, but it seemed like our squad, even though we still have some of the experienced players there, we still have a bit of youth players. For you, I know it's only 10 games, but do you think that could potentially be a problem?
Not really. I've had a bit of time to think about this one. I think, yes, we did know that Roy had his summer favourites allegedly, or there were some players on the team sheet that you probably didn't favour with Roy. However, that being said, there are a few players there that he will have to work with now. I guess when you look at the Doucourés and Elises, it's a different set of players altogether. He doesn't even have those sort of set players that we kind of used to cringe under in terms of back when he was around, to be fair. So he'll have to do the best with what he's got regardless. And we don't know. Remember, Roy's kind of had to sit back in this period of time. I had to look at it almost from an armchair perspective. So he's going to know or at least have a primary idea of what he can work with that squad. I don't think he would have went into this blindly. I think T raised a very fair point in terms of the fact that he was willing to come back and he was sort of taking himself out of that retirement element to be able to come in and get things balanced, and he is able to get the best out of Wilfried Zaha, because let's be honest, the best Wilfried Zaha we have seen in recent years in terms of actual figures on paper has been under Roy, to be fair. He's been our talisman, but now there are different weapons in the squad that he can work with. So the only thing the way I would look at it is maybe he can come back and do something a bit different from what he did before. The man's not naive and he's not stupid in the sense that he's going to play players that are under form. I never put Roy in that category of managers, even when he was here. I know it did get a bit stale towards the end, but I'm not too sold on that. I think he'll be smart enough to see the kind of players on form. He'll have Paddy around him. He'll have Ray Lewington that will kind of be able to advise and guide them about what's going on in the club. And I'm pretty sure he would have had Steve Parish and Mark Bright in his ear, letting them know exactly what's going on anyway. So I'm not convinced there's an issue with that one. You might probably see a bit more Luca. You might see a bit more MacArthur. You might still continue to see the likes of Ayew and Schlott, but at the end of the day, we had that under the previous manager anyway. So
exactly.
Let him cook what he's got. Let him cook, and then if he keeps us up, then that's enough for me.
And who's to say he may not play the exact same way he did with the old squad, because like you said, it is a different team. So who knows?
But then again, it is a different team. We'll see about it. But the Leicester game is massive for him anyways. But look, if you guys want to call in and have your say, click on the pinned comment. You can join in, whether you're Roy in, Roy out. I'm not going to say in or out, but whether you're happy with the appointment or not, call in. Let us know what you guys think. And as always, we'll be reading our comments as well during the show. But for you, T, in terms of personnel, who do you think benefits from this? Is there any players that benefit from Roy coming back to the club? And then one in particular, maybe the likes of Eze. Eze's been out of form. Do you think Eze can benefit?
He was one of the first ones that came to my mind when you talk about that. Possibly him, possibly Wilf. Fringe guys might benefit, guys that haven't been seen a ton of time. So like you mentioned, guys like Luca, MacArthur might see some more time. Dark horse for a player that might see some time, Jairo Reedabout.
But then again, did he play? I can't remember. How many?
He started.
He didn't get that many games under Roy though.
Towards the end, he started to play a little bit more.
He played him on occasion,
and that
I
was
think he's not. He'd be more
playing more left back though. But who knows?
Potentially. That's a shout. That's what you guys think in the conversation as well. Do you think Jairo could benefit from this? It'd be good to see him have use of it. But then again, I feel like we got better players than Jairo. I don't know. It depends on how Roy views the squad.
If we're talking about passing quality, I would honestly be pressed to say, Jairo playing left back, he can actually pass. Like, you know what I'm saying? I don't know.
We got Naponga to do our passing for us, mate. We got Naponga to do our passing for us. Don't worry about that.
Do you think it'll be 4-4-2 then? Because he did change to 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1.
He finished with us 4-3-3.
He changed it up. Yeah.
We finished with Roy 4-3-3. So, I mean, at least we do have that tactical flexibility. But I would think he would go 4-3-3 just because you have the ability to have Lakanga and Decore and Eze if you want him to play in central midfield. So I definitely wouldn't be surprised either way. But it could just be also matchup based and how he sees certain things against certain opponents too. And I did want to just respond to one comment. I can't find it, but I know Dan Arcus was the one that put it up, and it was the fact that insinuating that we backed this decision, that we're backing this decision. I didn't back the decision. I'm making the decision.
I've seen it. Well, it does sound like it, though. It does sound like it. I can't lie. The way we're talking right now, it does sound like it. But we're trying to be balanced.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I wanted to address it. I'm not backing the decision to bring in Roy. I already made my piece on that and how I didn't like the decision. I didn't like the planning behind it. But the decision has been made. So at this point, I have the decision to either back this team and want my club to do the best they can and stay up, or I can just not be around, say forget them and just stop caring. You know what I'm saying? So I've made the decision to back the manager, back the squad, and hope they stay up. So that's just wanted to say that real quick.
Yeah, look, if you're talking about me trying to get behind Roy, I'm 100% going to be behind Roy. Do I agree with the decision? 100% no. I think it's genuinely pathetic that we've come back to this place. I never thought we'll be talking about Roy Hodgson back at Palace. Do you know how mental it sounds? Roy Hodgson back at Palace. We've become an absolute laughing stock. And that laughing stock is not because of just Roy Hodgson joining back at the club. It's because of the people that's running the club. That's why we become a laughing stock. So for me, of course, I'm mad at the decision. I am mad at the decision, but I'm trying to think about the positives and the negatives. You know, I'm trying to keep a more balanced perspective, because I can sit here and just go crazy about the board, but I'm trying to talk about Roy a bit more and what he can do and some players that can benefit from it. But for you, AJ, team mention players potentially benefiting from Roy anyways. But who do you think could lose out in this moment? For me, I'll say one thing: Mateta. I think guys are forgetting Roy did not play him. He did not play him. He had that 1 or 2 moments against Brighton and that. But then afterwards, I remember sitting on here, live match reactions that we used to do back in the day, dark times. I used to talk about why is Mateta not playing.
It's hard, isn't it? I guess it's the thing is, you don't really know what version of Roy we're getting. This is the problem, because as soon as I saw the appointment, unfortunately, what everyone else did is they flashed back to Roy we remember. And the Roy I remember wasn't really too infused, because I'll tell you one player that a lot of people haven't really mentioned is Eze. When Eze arrived, Roy didn't play him a lot, you know.
No,
Roy kind of just
it took him a minute to get in there.
Yeah, he left him out for a while. And then eventually, if I'm not mistaken, it was like injury plagues that allowed that to happen.
And
Roy isn't always about having the most sexy football and creative football on the pitch. We know that. So that's the bit I'm worried about. It's the more creative, exciting players I'm concerned about. There's even a debate or argument to say that Elise could be facing some more bench time now. Despite the fact that obviously I absolutely love the way Elise plays and I'm here for that. That doesn't necessarily mean the mentality of what Roy does will have that.
Yep.
That's why I'm also concerned about Lokonga as well. Man, I've even been doing nightmare scenarios in my head, thinking like he might even start doing mad stuff like playing Decore at centre back in that, because that's what he did with Coyote.
No, we got centre back. Nah, there's no point.
Or not play Decore at all.
He did that.
There's a reason he done that, though. I think we were like a centre halves. I think there was like an injury problem, or there was something. To be fair, it did work out. But then again, I don't think he'll do that. We got Richards there. We got Tompkins there. If you're talking about potentially defenders playing, I don't think he'll do that, though, man. Look, as bad as Roy is, he's not idiot. He's not idiot as well.
I think he.
Yeah, but this is it.
I think he would bench Decore before he made him play center back. I think he would play Luca and somebody else and not play Decore before he puts him at center back.
It's hard to tell, because the problem is, until that Leicester game, we've got no primary idea. And this is not funny enough. It's going off what Dee said. I'm not even trying to be in that element of writing him off before he starts, because at the end of the day, the man's in charge now. You already know how I feel about my man Patrick Vieira. Like, you already know. So there's no point in me going down that rabbit hole anyway. But the man is here. I've got to back him. Like, I've got to sit there and cheer him on and cheer the team on. Whatever selection that may be. If he plays bloody Guide to our centre forward and we scores and we win 1-0 against Leicester, who cares? You see what I'm saying? So, I don't know, man. I think I'm just a bit more.
We got bigger problems than Roy. By the way, we'll talk about this. But by the way, even if we do stay up, I don't want people to act like, oh look, see, Paris did get it right. Paris did get it right, because honestly, with the players that we got, we should be staying up. We should be staying up. It should be a problem. We shouldn't even be in that conversation. I mean, I get we need to still improve in certain positions, but we got enough talent to be staying up. So hopefully we do stay up. But look, the lines are open if you guys want to join and have your say. We're going to be bringing on guests right now. Click on the pinned comment if you're enjoying the show. Make sure to hit the like button. There's about over 100 people on here, so if you can hit the like button, helps us out massively. And subscribe if you haven't already done so. Let's keep growing this channel. So let's start off with Dan first. Dan, welcome to the show. Roy Hodgson officially back at the club until the end of the season. Your thoughts on that?
You really want my thoughts? Okay. It's a laugh. It's a joke. It 100% is a joke. You know, the board didn't even want to sack Vieira in the first place. You know, it was on Parish. It was on Parish, and then you guys saying about hiring Hodgson again. You know, the board didn't even want to hire him again. You know, and it's on Parish. It's all on Parish. You know, this guy stinks, man. Just get him out of the club, please, please. Someone just do something. You know, but I know I'm laughing and all that about Roy Hodgson, but who knows the club better? You know, Roy knows what he's doing. You know, we got to believe in him. We got to trust in him. I know he's a frail old man and that, but at the end of the day, I reckon he'll get the best out of the players, and Palace will be fine. You know, we got the players there that understand the necessaries and what Roy Hodgson is about. And so they just now got to prove it. You know, they got to stand there. They got to give it 110%, be committed to the cause, and you know, fight the good fight. You know, like Palace always do. We always fight. We always seem to turn a negative into a positive. But as for us staying up and you know, giving it all, yeah, Parish done it. Nah, not at all, mate. Parish is done in my eyes. He's got to go.
Yeah, look, we're going to talk about Parish. Don't worry, Parish won't be escaped because that's a massive talking point. Because there was reports, as you said, there were reports coming out today from the Athletic that not all co-owners agreed on this decision. So they're based on the thesis that everyone agreed about this side, but that's not what the reports are suggesting. Parish's golden shares probably helping him 10%. He owns 10%, but has the final say. And there's a lot to talk about that. But look, we'll talk about that later on down the show. So for you, Dan, you said it. So you think we'll be staying up?
Yeah, I think we'll be fine. You know, I've got no. The thing is how we're going to react. How we're going to react to Vieira going. You know, it's all about the reaction now, and you know, we have to beat Leicester. You know, the last two times we played Leicester under Roy, he won 5-0 on 5-1, I think it was. So he likes to play Leicester. So we'll just take it baby steps from there and go on and hopefully dig Leicester out and get ourselves ready and prepared for this relegation battle that we're going to be.
Yeah. So quickly before you go, you clearly was frustrated about the board. Who are you frustrated at? What is it that you're angry about?
Harry, I'm angry about him. You know, at the end of the day, the guy, as I said to you before, I've been on the show a couple of times now, and I've called it as I see it. You know, I'm not going to change my mind. Harris just hasn't got a clue. Again, I'll say what I said. You know, I think the guy's a mug, and he has to go. It's as simple as that. Let the American investors invest their money. You know, as we said before, you know, it takes to give Parish £30 million. What's he done with it? He brought in Lakonga on loan, which doesn't add up to 30 million, and Armada as well, which is about £10 million. You know, what's he done with the rest of the dough? You know, it's just crazy times. But until Parish goes, then there is going to be no true identity to Crystal Palace Football Club.
Look, really appreciate your time, Dan, calling into the show, and hopefully we catch up again soon.
Yeah, cheers, Steve. Thank you very much, bro.
Thank you for coming on to the show. That was Dan having his say. Yeah, look, there's a lot to talk about. Funny enough, yesterday a video dropped, and it was on the. I don't want to keep talking about them, but Brighton CEO Paul Barber, and he talked about succession plan and how they do it, and then exactly my theories about how we do it versus them. yeah, you could tell there's a whole different. And you talked about data analysis. They talked about literally having replacements ready for different positions. So yeah, look, we'll talk about the board later on and see Patrick in more detail. Let's bring on Patrick next. Patrick, welcome to the show. Roy Hodgson is finally here. Happy, man? You're on mute. So even if you're happy, we wouldn't know.
Sorry about that. I'm kind of sneaking. I'm working from home, but I'll make this quick.
Okay.
So long story short, I want to look. I like Roy. I just feel I'm positive about it only from the aspect of I feel he was disrespected here towards the end by a lot of people, and I like to see him succeed. Not draw us to victory, not draw us to safety, win us to victory, and he gets the correct ovation he deserves by everybody, and then goes away into the night. That's the only motivation I got for that. The guy I wanted was Big Sam, but regardless, it's done. It's like AJ said, it's finished. Now I'm just curious who's going to play, because as much as I like to see Roy succeed, I'm afraid I'm going to see James Tompkins at center back and Jeffrey Schultz back in the midfield and 4-4-2 with Wilf up top with IU. I mean, I don't know what to expect really. Are we going to see any young players? Funny thing is he doesn't like to play young players, but the young players that have played under him have done well. Eze played well under him. Mitchell played well under him. Wan-Bissaka played well under him. So he also doesn't. I sound like a hypocrite here. I'm sorry, guys, but he also doesn't have time to be friends with anyone. If he does, I'd rather have him. If he's going to play the guys that he believes in, then do it. We'll get it mad at the lineup of this summer if we stay up or go down.
But you're saying this now. But if he plays the plays, sorry to cut you off, but if he plays the plays that we all want to see, if he doesn't play the plays that we all want to see play, let's say he drops the likes of, who could he potentially drop? Let's say Decore for Luka. I'm not saying it's going to happen, and we end up losing them games. Would you have the same reaction? Because it's easy to say now, Patrick, but let's say in the live match reactions, if he does do them bold moves, would you still be okay with it?
I don't know if I'd be okay with it.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
I don't know if I'd be okay with it, but this is the situation that Parrish has put us in. So what fears me most is a splintered fan base that's going to the game next Saturday. Was it next Saturday, right? April 1st. So, if we got half the fans booing at Roy because he's 130 years old and the other half backing him, we need to back the coach. You could get after Parrish anytime you want, but that game is the most important game of this run, I think. Because
let me stop you there. I just want to stop you there because I said this at the start of the show as well. With the age side of things, 130 years old, I get he's old. And
I made a joke. It's a joke.
Yeah, I know. But with the age side of things, I've asked the question to others as well because that's one area that people always constantly will talk about. I'm pretty sure other guests will come on here talk about his age as well. But what is it with the age side of things that potentially could cause us harm? Not in terms of harm, but it could go against us or it could go for us. Do you think age could potentially play a part? Because he had an older squad, maybe that's it. But it could also, play. There could be positives and negatives. He's a more experienced manager. We've got a younger squad, so they can look up to him. But we've also lost a bit of experience. And, in them next 10 run of games, I don't know. How do you feel about age?
I don't think the age is a big deal at the last 10 games. The only problem could be some players just think he's not going to be here, so they're not going to be here and they won't take him serious. That's where we need guys like Luka and MacArthur to kick those dudes in the head. I mean, that's what you get veteran leadership for, right? It wouldn't surprise me if they played Luka. And now, of course, if they are, make sure he's next to the goaltender because he has no legs. But the point being is that's where you need your veterans that they put these young guys in place if they feel that way. Look, I just feel, Parrish led us down the rabbit hole. Hopefully, once again, we can be bailed out by Roy. I'm not going to be watching Palace. I'm going to be listening to it on the radio, like I told you last week, because I just can't watch his style of football. I can hear it, but look, I'm going to stand behind the manager. I don't care who the manager is. I'm going to stand behind him in this situation because this 13-game winless streak in all competitions, it's a third of a season, guys. We don't have time to complain. We need to get behind the club. That's it. And then the summertime, then vent on Parrish. I don't have time to the negativity now about it. I'm just curious. I know there's going to be the 4-4-2 jokes. I'm just curious who he's going to play, just to see if it's going to be an all old people club or is he going to mix in some of the younger guys. I'm just curious. That's what I think. I wouldn't surprise me, and I got to get back to work, so I'll leave you with this. It wouldn't surprise me if we see Jeffrey Schultz at left back, strictly because Mitchell's form has dropped off a cliff. things like that. He's played him at left back before.
Potentially. Look, Patrick, I know you have to get back to work. Really appreciate you taking the time anyways.
Yeah,
Appreciate
always
it,
doing a
Patrick,
good
man.
job, guys. Take care.
Take care.
Thanks, bro.
Thank you, Patrick. That was Patrick. Interesting point. Joe Shop at left back.
Because didn't he start? I mean, he was rotating
I'm not
him in
against that.
PV when he first started. He was rotating him in PV.
I'm not actually against that, you know.
Yeah, well, we'll see. We'll see. If you guys want to join, have your say. Click on the pinned comment. It should be in the top of the comment section where you can click on the link and join to have your say. Whether you're Roy in, Roy out, whatever, however you're feeling, join. Next up, we got Joe. Joe, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for calling in. What do you make about the appointment of Roy coming back to the club? Only for 10 games. Well, we think so anyways until the end of the season. I doubt he'll stay on any longer, but he's here. 10 games
Hopefully not.
after all the rumors. So how do you feel about it?
Yeah, I think I'm in the same boat as you, really. I think it's pretty disappointing where we are, considering our hopes sort of off the back of last season. But it is what it is, really. I think I've sort of began to accept it in a way for what it is. And I think I saw one of your tweets and that pretty much sums it up for me, which is how do we sort of let Parish know that we're upset without, any detriment to the players, and we've got to make sure that we back the players. That's, it's 10 games. So the last thing we want now is to lose that 12th man, But I think that we will survive, just maybe. And I think that's based really just on our squad and, the fixtures that we've got left. My only concerns, as you said, AJ, as well, is his personnel. I think we will probably see a lot less of the likes of Elise and more of IU. And maybe that's not necessarily a bad thing, but I think considering some of the games that we've got, some of them teams are going to be there for the taking, and we need to probably express ourselves more in some of them games than we have. And the other thing that I'm a bit worried about is, previously under Roy, we never finished a season very well. I know it's different circumstances, but our last sort of 5-10 games, once we were safe with Roy, we were always just on the beaches, and I do worry that might creep in, but who knows?
So for you, you mentioned at the start about my tweet about Parish and how do we balance that out. Have you lost faith in Parish, and why is that?
At the minute, I mean, I'm trying not to be too reactional to it, because I think he's probably just trying to do what he thinks is the right thing, and there's probably not many managers out there that want to join in this period. I think I'm not against new owners at this stage, and I think that would be for the best. But look, I don't hate Parish. He's done very well for us. But I totally understand people's anger towards him, to be honest.
Yeah, so for me, I feel like he's hit a ceiling in terms of what he can achieve going forward at this club. And it's not just a case of he's appointed Roy Hodgson, I'll talk about it later on down the show, but there's a wide range of things that this past week has exposed us to. The succession plan around it, there's the lack of investment. There's reports that's coming out from very reputable sources, such as The Athletic, that's saying that not all co-owners agreed. And it's making me question things like Harrison Blitz want out of the club, and I got onto them a lot, saying that they're not interested in the future of this football club. But there might be a reason for that. And if that reason, I'll say it here, the reason might be the fact that Parish is still pulling the plug. They've got a lot of money in the club. Parish is still making the big decisions, and they might not be happy with that. So there's lots of different situations that we could talk about regarding Parish and going forward, which we'll talk about later on down the show. But for you, Joe, do you think we'll be staying up?
Yeah, I think we'll scrape it potentially. But like I was saying, I think the squad, it would be a huge surprise if with the squad that we have and the games we've got left for us to go down.
Yeah, I agree. But then again, it could go the other way, right? I mean, if you lose them games, then it could go shocking. That's the thing that we've got these winnable games, but if you lose against the likes of Leicester and then lose against Leeds, that could be horrific.
I think that Leicester game
could get more toxic.
That Leicester game is huge. I think if Roy's got to come in, ironically, he's got to come in hitting the ground. You know, like he's got to, because that first game really sets a precedent, and I can't imagine how toxic things will be if we go down to Leicester.
Yeah, I mean, if we lose against Leicester, that's crazy. But quickly, I haven't asked anyone this as well. Paddy McCarthy as an assistant manager, what do you make of that decision?
Do you know what? I think it's quite a good decision, actually. And I thought, well, is Ray going to come back as well? And then I saw that
Ray's back. Yeah.
So that's I think them three as a combo, I think is good, because of course with Roy, with his age, you know, there's good things and bad things about his age, obviously experience. But one thing that we had with Vieira is his ability to develop players such as Doucouré, you know, because he's been that player, and he's got that ability to like develop people with that knowledge of being his age, you know, whereas Roy, I feel it's more difficult for someone of his age. I mean, I have no idea. I'm chatting up my arse because I have no idea what it's like to be a 75-year-old.
You know, I don't think you're 75 yet. I don't think you're that old. Yeah, you don't let that old anyways. But yeah, you know, he's coming out. Look, he's coming out of retirement though. There is that.
Yeah.
But then again, look, there's another thing as well about this. People getting onto Roy, which I don't think it's the right thing. I understand the frustrations, but it's not Roy's fault that he's here right now.
Of course, yeah.
It's the people that make these decisions. The people that went up to him and said, "Can you do us a favor?" And Roy thinks that he's doing us a favor. Well, he's doing us a favor. And as I said this before, I don't think he's joining another club in our situation, anyways. I thought the Watford job was the end of it for him. He was in retirement, so I think he's, you know, it's not his fault that was position. And I don't know, as you said, the age thing, you can play the positives and negatives towards it, but it will be interesting to see how he does with the younger players, because as you can, maybe you don't remember, but I remember like Brandon Pierre, I guess he was right about it. But when he played him at Anfield, we saw the comments about, you know, he should get him a bottle of wine just because he played 10 minutes literally at Anfield. So he wasn't really a fan of youth players, but maybe Paddy McCarthy alongside him could help that.
Exactly.
Maybe he can understand his youth players a bit better. So like that, that could be a positive. Any other last things that you want to say before?
Yeah, just going off the back of that, really. Paddy is the one that's gonna maintain the development, I think, during this time, because Roy's not there to develop players, you know, he's there just to get us to the end of the season. I hope, and not anymore past that.
You never know.
Yeah. But yeah, thanks for having me on anyway.
Yeah, look, thank you, appreciate it, Joe. Anytime you want to come on, feel free.
Thanks,
Great call.
Appreciate it, Joe, mate.
Thank you, Joe. Take care.
Quick point, man. That I was noticing when you were talking, man. We talked about the fact that there may have been some disagreement from the board about letting go of Vieira, and we know Parrish has that, like you said, that golden say. If that $30 million was there for him to spend, but Parrish didn't want to keep Vieira, why would he? Parrish probably didn't want to let Vieira spend that $30 million because he's going to bring in players that he wants, and Parrish probably didn't want to let him spend that money. So it kind of makes sense why maybe see that money gets spent. Maybe.
I have an alleged theory about that, actually.
Allegedly,
which has got something to do with financial fair play and where and when you can spend that. Because remember, stature and size of our football club versus the net income versus what we can spend in a set calendar year is a little bit of a grey area. Because we're not a 50,000 seat stadium football club that is constantly in Europe and all the rest of it. So we can't always have outrageous splurges. It's really weird. I actually found enough read an article about that recently. When I find it, I'll see if I can send that out or something, because apparently that plays a certain part in it as well, allegedly.
Well, I haven't seen it anyways, but if that's the case, then it might be. But look, we'll talk about the ownership in just a bit. Dem's been waiting. Dem, how you doing?
I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm really a bit scared today because
Why?
I sense the people who are Vieira in, there's a lot of emotion there. And to be frank, I'm still Vieira out, even more than I was.
It's your fault. It's your fault. No, I'm kidding. I'm not going to do that. It's your fault.
No, but
You're happy
no,
about the situation.
D. Last
No, I'm
video,
joking,
you
I'm joking.
you even went as far as saying, those of you who wanted Vieira out, this is on you. It's on you. It's like, no,
I was
the
frustrated. I'll
two
take that back. I'm
things.
sorry.
Yeah,
I'm sorry
the
about
two
that.
things
I
can
can apologize
exist
publicly.
independently. Right,
Yeah.
I'm not hot. I'm not Roy in because, frankly, I've seen him in interviews lately. He just looks frail. I'm actually scared for him. Elise puts it on a plate for Edwards, and then he's supposed to still be standing there on the touchline. I'm really scared, and I mean that seriously. He looks frail. I don't actually understand that whole thing. I just don't trust it whatsoever. He might have the football knowledge still fine, and I think both Hodgson and Vieira would have kept us up. But I still believe Vieira's position was untenable because all these articles you're talking about, I genuinely believe these people are backtracking because of the decision Parish has made to bring in Roy. No one said, oh, if we sack Vieira, I'm going to bring in Roy. That was never an option on the table.
But then it was for the owners, clearly, because as soon as Vieira got sacked, it was Roy Hodgson. I remember the night that Vieira got sacked, we was talking with you, and the first name that's being mentioned is Roy Hodgson. And that's where it goes down to the board. As I said before, it's not Roy Hodgson's fault that he's in this position, but it does genuinely seem like Roy was the first name.
No, for Parish. Parish is the one who appears to have Roy on speed dial.
Yeah.
Seriously, Parish is the one who was talking to Roy since week before. It's Parish who's got that connection. The American owners don't appear to have that connection with Roy. It's Parish, and that's all good. That's fine. Parish is allowed to have his contacts in football. He has exposed himself as being limited, and I agree with what you said earlier, D, that he's reached his the limit of his thing. His ceiling isn't that high as a chairman, especially when you look at Brighton, what Brighton are doing, etc. Although even Brighton, if you look at that history, they've got all sorts of things going on since that chairman took over. It hasn't all been roses. They're just going through a very good spell at the moment. So there's no, Brighton haven't had 3 or 4 seasons of spectacular football. It could all go tits up for them as well,
100% them. But look, we're going to talk about the ownership a bit later on. But I'll say one thing. I'll send the link to you as well. Well, I'll post it in a comment. And go check this out because I watched it yesterday. And Paul Barber, the Brighton CEO, spoke about this succession plan. And based on what he said and what we're doing, it seems like we're completely off it. And even before I watched that video, you could see it by the way that we're running the football club in terms of, with the investment, not replacing players, with the managers that's been listed after Roy's gone. It feels like we're still stuck in, 2015, 2014. For clubs like Palace, if you want to progress, you need to have proper infrastructure in place if you don't have the money. And for me, this is where it goes down to Steve Parish. I feel like he's hit his ceiling. If it's the case of get rid of Vieira and bring back Roy Hodgson, go again in the summer, back the manager, it's like an ongoing cycle. That cycle's not healthy because one day it will catch up to us. Maybe this season we get relegated, and that's where my frustration goes on. Not Roy Hodgson, but Steve Parish. And that's why I feel like it's time for him to go.
D, sorry to interrupt you. I actually think this could be the scenario where all the Parish out people get their wish. Because if this spectacular gamble backfires and there's still a chance it can, then I think Parish would have to go. Yeah, the fan base would be united. If you gamble on a 75-year-old manager at this age of the season, you get relegated, that would be enough grounds for serious protests at the club. I think Parish would be gone under those circumstances.
I'll be honest with you. Sorry.
If Roy works, there's an excuse to penny pinch even more because we've seen. I'm more, what's his name? Parish is poverty stricken rather than incompetent. I'm on that side of the fence with Parish. I've not seen enough evidence of incompetence. I just see that we don't seem to have world-class people in certain positions at the club doing things that would take us to that next level. And also the money is not there.
Okay, but based on what you're saying and based on what the reports are saying, it's completely the opposite, though. It seems like there was money available. It seems like the co-owners are not agreeing with Parish, and even in terms of, saying that people behind the scenes that's not there. Whose role is that? That is Parish's role. I mean,
but that money came with strings attached, though. Didn't that?
But it
What's
didn't,
that
though.
financial?
That's not the SPAC. I saw your comment. About SPAC.
Yeah.
That 30 million was nothing to do with SPAC. That's just John Textor. That, according to the Times,
Textor was trying to buy his way into more control over the club, and Parish said no. That's something that, you know what I mean? We're not going to get to the bottom. Textor wants more control of the club. That's fine. He's entitled to want that. Parish wants his control. So they're currently in some kind of wrangle. So Parish is not going to just give him that control. That's the problem we have at fans at the moment. That civil war you're talking about.
Yeah, but that's the issue. How are we going to progress as a football club if one investors, first of all, if you're an investor and let's say you have billions of pounds, I know John Textor came in, I know Harrison Blitzer came in, but why on earth would you want to come to a football club? I feel like they've realized that they've probably made a mistake, or that's why they're frustrated. Why on earth would you want to come to a football club and have a guy that owns 10% of the shares tell you that what he's saying is gonna happen? Now, I get it. You can have a discussion and he has the more experience, but there comes a point when you look at other football clubs around us. I feel like Parish is a good businessman, but there comes a point where enough is enough about business, is about football. That's why I'd prefer someone with football knowledge or someone that can, as T said it yesterday, I'm getting off T's giving me knowledge, exactly. As T said it yesterday, that's why I'd prefer someone like, I'm not saying bring Paul Barber from Brighton, but Paul Barber's coming from the FA. We worked in America as well. He's come from different footballing backgrounds. Now, Steve Parish, he doesn't have that football background. And that's why I feel like if you want to progress us onto the next level, it might be a good time to move on. Because I'll be honest, there's so many things about them other than Roy Hodgson. If you're Parish out just because of Roy Hodgson, fair enough, but I feel like you're missing a whole bigger picture that's been exposed.
No. Remember what I said last time I was on? I'm looking around and I'm not seeing some consortium with a sport crazy chairman who knows the business inside and out and is brilliant for us. You know, it's consortium saying that we're going to take over, we're going to buy out all these Parish and Textor and everything. Where are these people? That's what I'm saying. I'm not seeing where this alternative is at the moment. The alternative you guys seem to be selling is perhaps Textor is the best of a bad bunch. But I've got concerns about Textor as well.
I can address that actually to an extent. Sorry to interrupt. Right, so with the ownership structure in most businesses, right, even if some billionaire consortium bought Steve Parish's share, you're only getting 10%. 10% doesn't actually, in a generic business, give you any control over everything. It just gives you a voting share traditionally. The reason why this is so difficult for another consortium to come in and buy out everybody is the way that Steve Parish has uniquely set up is he has a very, bespoke agreement with these owners. There is most businesses, especially in the UK, have that kind of ownership structure. It's not because anything less than 25%, even if you had 24.9%, wouldn't be enough for you to have any controlling stake or any controlling share. The reason why it's complex and complicated, because even if you went in and bought that 10%, what would then happen is Texar or Harrison Blitzer would then become the controlling stakeholders, and they would have the golden share and the golden say. Essentially, if you bought Steve Parish's shares off him, you're only getting 10% of that business, meaning that in a shareholder agreement and shareholder voting rights, anybody else coming in new, you're only coming in to put money in. Even if you bought Steve Parish's shares out, you wouldn't have any dominant say whatsoever. The club would then be on
complex. I'm agreeing with you. That's why it's complex. But I'm saying in my perfect world, someone buys out all of them, because I've not seen enough from any of those managers, any of those owners, including Parish at the moment, to make me feel that they're best for the long-term success of the club, including things like qualifying for Europe and competing, looking as good as Brighton. Parish doesn't appear to be that guy at the moment. Harrison Blitzer, I don't think so. Textor, I've got concerns about as well. So I'm saying, where is the consortium to buy up all the shares? Where is that? No one's just pointed to anyone who's got that.
Because with that, what would then happen is Textor wouldn't let go of that, because I think Textor owns like 40% or 38 something percent. So he wouldn't give that up anyway unless he got a larger insane return, which, sake of argument, from an outside perspective, if you've got all 20 Premier League teams and you've got a billionaire consortium concept, Palace is never going to be even in the top 10 of decisions, because the stadium's not there, the club's not in Europe, the football team's not battling the top 10. It's not to say you're going to go in there and you can only spend a little 10, 20 million. You've got to bulk in an insane chunk of money. because the problem is if you even compare us to somebody like Nottingham Forest, for example, who only just came up and spent all these random players and bought all these random players, they have a bigger stadium, they have a bigger history, they have a larger fan base. The problem is with us is we are essentially small fish in a large river, like in comparison to big fish in a small pond. We're not that attractive on a global scale. That's the problem. Even with the owners that went in and bought Newcastle monopolized that part of the world. Newcastle have already got a large, massive stadium. They've got European pedigree. They've got a history there. We're tiny in comparison to them. We don't have that kind of we don't have that larger appeal. So unless you've got somebody that, I guess Texas is the nearest person that we've got in that setup that is willing or allegedly willing to pay that money. That's why I'm personally don't latch onto it, but that is why most fans will kind of push in that agenda. But you are right in terms of having the mistrust room, because obviously there are rumors that there are things going on in Brazil and there are things going on with Leon, but we don't know that. That's the problem, because he's obviously disappeared off social media and all the rest of it. So the thing is, we don't really know where we stand with that. Whereas with Harrison Blitzer, we know they're not interested, and with Steve Parish, he cannot compete. He's just not on that level. And the realistic scale is he's only a 10% shareholder. So in the real world, he doesn't really have much dominance as people actually realize. He's just got a very unique agreement that he has the final say on all the club decisions. So that's why we're stuck in a rock and a hard place.
No, exactly. I'm agreeing. And I'm sort of like with Parish, in the past, I've backed Parish because I just think he's the chairman, like you're saying. He hasn't got some big time stake. He's put himself there. He's probably done what Simon Jordan wishes he had done by placing himself in a position where he doesn't have to give up his own cash and he can run the club, and he's still got that cachet of being the owner, but he's not really an owner. He has to get backers. So that's all well and good. That's fine. I'm just saying there's nothing. I'm not hearing any evidence that there's a replacement for our unique model at the moment, unless someone with serious big bucks comes along, and that's not likely to happen. Texter, from what Tim was saying, which really concerned me, Texter apparently was wanting to float us on the Dow Jones. And I'm sorry, we're South London and proud. I don't know about this. I'm not comfortable with this idea of us floating on the New York Stock Exchange. It doesn't make any sense to me.
And that's why we'll forever be a small club.
Exactly. Yeah, but that's true. That's true. I agree. That's true.
But see, what I'm saying? Because a lot of the reason why Crystal Palace is what it is, especially when it comes to the fan base, is because of the fact that we have a lot of fans that don't want to see the change that it takes to make that type of step up. You know what I mean?
Okay. All right. Can I just address that point T's made? All right. I would agree with you to the extent that some fans are a bit reactionary. I would put myself in that category. Some of these changes are a bit, I'm concerned. I would agree with you 100%. And to be honest, I'm one of those old school fans. I like some of the continuity at the club where you see an ex-player continue. Look at how Jedinak was treated. Still boils my blood. You know what I mean? If we become completely corporate, if that was ever possible, you'd see less and less of that respect for former players, and you'd get this sort of one in, one out. You fall in love with a player, gets sold for millions next day. Look what Brighton are dealing with, things that Southampton have been dealing with, and look where Southampton are now. That thing that you're doing of selling people all the time, that can backfire over time, because you have to be very lucky every season that the incoming acquisitions will be good enough. But can I just defend the fact that we're in this chaos at the moment isn't because of reactionary fans who don't want change. People believe Vieira was going to be the change. I do not agree that Vieira was the man for the job. Can I just provide one piece of, I don't know if you can call it evidence, right? We all know that we've moved to a model where we're trying to buy people cheap or develop them ourselves and then sell them on. We all know that. I would put Edouard in that category. He didn't come to us on a free. He wasn't alone. He's not from the academy. We bought him, but he's a young player. So everyone would hope that Edouard is going to be sold on for a huge profit or he's going to stick around and score the goals that keep us in the Premier League or take us to Europe. Under Vieira, that investment was put under threat. And what sold the deal for me was that interview Vieira gave. This is not athletic speculation in an article. With his own words, oh, I've dropped him. I hope I get a reaction from him. I'm sorry, that's like it's Mr. Miyagi levels of a manager who's got cups in his CV. Normally, you see that kind of thing after the player has come through the bad patch. So that enough, just that bit of evidence is enough for me. I'm sorry, Parish has got a responsibility to our players, not the manager. Our players are assets. And just the treatment of Edward, even though I'm not sure if he's the real deal myself, I think he's a bit weak in possession, etc. But just the treatment of Edward, a player comes on, scores 2 goals on his debut, and then he's shunted around, put on the wing, sometimes dropped. I'm sorry, something about that screams to me of an egomaniac manager. I'm not convinced that Vieira was the manager to take us to the next level. And this is all gone, this plan of progression has gone tits up for that reason. And then it's compounded by Parish having nothing in his armory other than relying on a 75-year-old.
Yeah, look, damn, 100% agree. At this point, I'll be honest, I'm over the Vieira situation. It's done. It's done. There's no point in just, going back to Vieira's situation. It's now how we can progress as a football club. And some of the points that you made about who would want to buy Palace, I don't know what AJ's, I think he had to do something, but Palace is still a London football club. There is something about Palace, and if we built a new stadium, there is room for growth at Palace. I don't think Palace is in a horrible position. Is a South London football club. It's got core fan base as well. It's got room for improvement where commercially we can be better off the field, on the field we can be better as well. So with Palace, I feel like there should be an interest there. But if you're the reason why there hasn't been any, first of all, John Textor's come in, so there has been people who has been interested. You see Harrison Blitz in recent times as well. So there have been people interested in buying Palace. But for me, I don't think anyone's going to come and knock on Palace's door and say we want to buy you. We're not up for sale. Do you get it? So if we're not up for sale, we're not going to hear these talks about consortiums being interested in Palace because we just literally brought in new people, and it's unlikely that they're going to sell it. So for me, I've said it before, this might sound hypocritical, and I said we'll talk about it later on the show, but I'm going to say it here. I got onto John Textor, I got onto Harrison Blitzer, but for me, after seeing all the reports, I'm more concerned about Steve Parish now. I am more concerned about Steve Parish. And this is why, because I know not every report is true out there, but I'm not just picking out reports from, I don't know, like sources like 90-Minute Football. These are people who have knowledge within the football club. Yeah. And of course, some agendas might push their stories onto different platforms. I understand that. But it makes sense to me now. It makes sense looking at the bigger picture. Harrison Blitzer, the reason why they might want out is because they have a guy that has 10% share in the club, that has the final say in the club, and they're willing to, and they spent millions and millions on this football club, but they can't run it as they want to. They might feel like there's limitations, just like I do with Steve Parish. To take this. So maybe that's why they want out of the football club. That's why they want to invest in another Premier League club, because if they don't feel like under Parish they can go and progress. John Textor, he seemed like he's willing to put the money in. So for me, I feel like we need a change from the people running the football club. And I'm saying this again, and I've said it before, this is my personal opinion. It doesn't reflect everyone that back of the nest or, T or AJ, even, I don't know if they agree or disagree. But for me, there has to be a change in how we run a football club. There are teams around us that they run a football club better. It's not a case of they're being bought out by billionaires. It's just a case of they run the football club better. They've got a better succession plan. The reason why we're in the situation right now is because of Steve Harris. That's the simple.
Oh, hold on. I'm going to stop D.
Yeah.
Hold on. You're comparing us with Brighton, though. That Brighton video you saw, look at the bigger picture. The whole Premier League, all the pundits are loving off Brighton's model. So much so that Chelsea took the manager away and some of his backroom staff. One of the guys who was in charge of recruiting has gone to Chelsea. Imagine Chelsea with all their billions, so in love with Brighton that they went there and poached wholesale from them. So Brighton is a little bit of an anomaly, meaning that their model at the moment is so good that everybody loves it. Who else out of the top 6 are you talking about that they've got such a perfect model? Yeah, Brentford. Yeah.
Limited budget as well. Brentford as well. And the two clubs, both the correlations in them two clubs is the fact that they run
Those
football,
two
they
clubs.
use data
What
analysis.
about Southampton?
Yeah, but these are clubs that don't run the club properly. That's what I'm talking about. We're in
No,
them
but
categories
see,
right now.
no.
But we're in the categories right now.
Southampton are the OG Brighton. They were doing that. Look,
They're not.
when was the last?
They're not. The reason why
I'm saying they were.
Southampton fans.
No, hold on. I'm saying they were the OG Brighton. That model of finding people on the cheap and selling them off. Look, when was the last time they got anyone like Virgil van Dijk through their ranks? Because it's diminishing returns. Eventually, it catches up with you. You can't keep on selling your best players, and then yes, your scouting might be world class, but eventually, they don't gel. This one doesn't score. You will end up where we are. So I'm just saying, look at Brighton in 2 or 3 seasons' time. Then you can say, yes, that's a perfect model. Because that Bloom guy, he took over like round about the same time as Parish, wasn't it? Before 2010. He's had relegation in that time. He sacked, Chris Hughton in that time. And I remember the uproar when Hughton was sacked. All of these are gambles. So I'm just, I just don't think it's as clear cut as you're saying.
There are plenty of teams that have that model of finding talent for the low, selling for the high, and being very successful and being stable. And it's not just even in England either. I mean, you have the Dortmunds, you have Lyon. Like there are teams that do it very often. I think the Southampton thing, and you also have to think Sadio Mane also came Virgil van Dijk too. I think Southampton. I think their issue has been more of their coaching and things that have gotten in the way, because they've been able to still get some great talent. They got some great young guys there right now that could probably have some great value on the market. I think the issue that they have more than anything right now, why they're dealing with the relegation scrap, is because of their coaching more than anything else. But I mean that I would say that model it can be very sustaining. It's just important that you have all the right things in place for it to continue to be strong. Because there are plenty of teams that do.
I agree. Okay, fair enough. It can be sustained, but we're talking about Brighton after how many seasons of this model lighting up the Premier League? It's not 5 seasons, 6 seasons. Oh, Brighton have won the FA Cup. They're in Europe. They've done this. They've got, De Serbia's been poached. Now they've got this manager and they're still there. There's no longevity that we're seeing yet. It's flash in the pan. We don't know. It could work. I mean, I'm happy to see after 3 or 4 seasons. If it works, fine. But I'm just looking at their similarities with Southampton. I believe it is diminishing returns. And also, I believe what Dee said about our club being quite small. If Parish had taken a gamble in the past, like say sell Zaha for mega bucks, I don't think the club are in a place where we have that quality of recruitment where we could have even tried to match, even if we'd got a big cash injection over multiple players. I think the whole system needs an overhaul. You're right. The whole system is not world class at Palace. So we could sell Elise and Eze tomorrow, Doucouré, and we'll guaranteed relegation. I don't have faith that we would revamp the squad and be able to compete.
Because there's been plenty of evidence that we don't do it.
We don't. We only spend money when we have to. We spend money when we have to spend it. Then our transfer window is, Allardyce got a war chest. All our players are old. We have to spend the money. Now we'll do it.
Exactly, them. And that is my issue. 10 years in the Premier League. 10 years we're talking about in the Premier League, and we still haven't got this solved. And we're talking about teams that like Brentford. That's. I know we're going to see the bigger picture later on down the line, but I spoke to Brentford fans as well, and they've said that like they've got a unique way. Even Brentford's academy, they haven't got an academy. They've got a B team. You need to be creative off the field to progress in the Premier League if you don't have the money. And we've been in the Premier League for 10 years. And in them 10 years, it's the same thing over and over again. It seems like we have no infrastructure to take us forward. And I'm not talking about the academy in itself, because the academy facilities were a joke. We've been in the Premier League for 10 years. That needed to be solved. So for me, I would rather have someone that's a football man that could try and be creative off the field. That's my problem. Now, even with Brighton,
where is he?
Brighton chairman said, first of all, it's not my job to find it. I mean,
No.
Just like,
That's
hold
not,
on,
no,
just-
no. No, I'm sorry. I know I keep interrupting. I'm sorry. But you guys on back of the desk, you've got a very peculiar habit of any time anyone who was even slightly anti-Vieira said, oh, I didn't like this, Patrick, not Vieira, would say like, oh, who would you play? Where would you play? As if you've got the gilet with your initials on it and you're in the dugout. Anytime we complained, we were asked for what the alternative was. So yes, I agree with you. We need a new structure. Everything needs to be changed. But who's doing that? Where's it coming from?
I'll do my research because it's only been a few days. I'll do my research and I've been actually thinking about it. I'll do my research and I'll come back to you. I would like a sporting director or like a CEO that's been in the football environment that, you know, that can actually take us forward. Because for me, I don't know about you then, but Parrish, I see him as a businessman now. And I feel like over the past, you know, year or so, I guess you can see, even with this 13 months, what are you doing in 13 months? It's genuinely unbelievable. It's 13 months to think of Roy Hodgson. And what have you been doing? Forget about succession planning. If it's a short-term problem, then yes. But if you seriously consider sacking your manager and in 13 months, this is the best you can think of, it just makes our club look a laughingstock even to the next manager that's coming in. And even some of these players as well. Like this, of course, projects are going to have hurdles along the way, but we need to realize we've been in the Premier League for 10 years. For 10 years, and we still don't have these. Like, okay, let me ask you this. When's the last time we signed someone from South America or even Asia? You know, our recruitment, even though it's been decent for us, has been local, like Championship, UK, and that's fine. And it's been France as well, Vieira influence as well. But it's so basic how we run our football club. The manager names that we get as replacements are basic. No one knows about the Zerbi. No one knows about Mitoma. And you only make that work. Even against Brentford, I'll pick out some of their players. Some of the players we didn't know about. And the only way you found them players is if you have proper people behind the scenes as scouting, as data analysts that find these people. And my problem is, you mentioned Southampton, how they were doing well, then they struggled. We could be the next Southampton if we don't progress as a football club. And it's not a case of just bringing billionaire owners. It's a case of bringing someone who had the creative ideas to take us forward as a football club.
Yeah, I agree. For me, it's either billionaire owner to sort out the fact that we never seem to have any money, or it's like you said, someone who's forward thinking and knows the game. Yeah. But either of those solutions, I don't see. So you do your research, but until someone comes back with this thing on the table, someone there is itching to take over, or someone has identified a possible replacement, I don't see what the point is of no, it's not there's no point, but I'm not sure we're as fans we're going to get the solution other than maybe get the placards out and complain.
Yeah, but for me, if C. Patrick was to leave, then Texter, I mean Harrison Blitzer, maybe they could find someone and bring them in. Look, end of the day, we've hit our ceiling. Regardless, I feel like we've hit our ceiling, so we have to find a replacement. We're not going to get billionaire owners right now, so we have to find a replacement. We just have to. We have to. Otherwise, we're going to get relegated. This model is scary. It's scary how we're working things over the past few days. That's how I feel, anyways. So you know, I think these people, they've got amazing connections. They should be able to find someone in
before I go, can I just say to Dale Martin, plenty of teams have that model, what he says. Yeah. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Palace have no model. That's what it looks like to most of us watching. It looks a lot like reaction. We're not proactive. 100%. That's what it is.
Problem. Yeah, 100%. We have no. I think that's what's exposed. This whole Vieira out and then Roy Hodgson in. That's what's exposed. Not that Vieira's gone. Forget about it. He's gone. I was emotional about it because I wanted him to stay, of course. Just like you was happy about it because you wanted him gone. But it's done now. It's done. How do you progress a football club? And it shows that we have no model based on what by Hodgson coming back in, based on the recruitment. I mean, I didn't think about this, but funny enough, Van Aanholt, even when he left, we haven't signed a new left back. I mean, Tyreek left back. What? There's so many areas. Wan-Bissaka, Benteke, Gallagher, it's just unbelievable. And you know what the Brighton chairman, CEO said? Not the chairman, CEO said? He said for all 25 players that we already have replacements, or we're thinking about how we can replace them already. And I don't feel like we've got that infrastructure. Do you get it? We're just too
hold on. MH as well, sorry, I promised last thing. Yeah, I am jealous of Brighton. 100% I am jealous of Brighton. And if you've never been relegated under Bloom, that's fine. But there was a time where you weren't in the top division. So that's what I meant. So yeah, I'm jealous. Yeah. Who wouldn't be jealous of this Mitoma guy who's always scoring goals and wing up, all that stuff? That's fine. But I would give that with a caveat. I would like to see you, MH, in 3 or 4 seasons. Whether I'll still be jealous, I'm not sure.
All right, look, them really appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank
calling
you.
into the show as well.
Appreciate it, them. Thank you.
Take care.
Thanks,
Thank
them.
you. All right, bye.
Thank you. That was them. I know both of you have to head off, and there's a few callers waiting, so I'll take over. Don't worry, I'll talk about it. But before you head off, anything, AJT, you want to add?
Yeah. Sorry, T, do you want to go?
No, go ahead, man. Go ahead.
On the Brighton and Brentford thing, right? I don't know how much research people have done, but what people don't seem to understand about the Tony Bloom model is one of the reasons he is a millionaire is obviously everyone knows he's a gambler, right? What he developed is he's got a unique system which generates the process of how they operate the business. That's why he's a millionaire. And he sells this essential, I don't know if you would call it more like a program or a package. He sells it to other millionaires, and essentially it calculates long-term gambling versus short-term benefit. So the whole reason why it works for Brighton is, and the reason why their system and structurally all in sound is, and funny enough, you kind of, between you and them, you kind of got on the money a bit, is they have a calculation and a probability for everything in the future.
Yep.
Henceforth, why they do have
every
2
player.
or 3 replacements for every position and every manager and every player. The reason why it also works at Brentford is the guy who worked under Bloom and was one of his data analysts took a bit of that concept and brought it to Brentford. That is why they are able to calculate and buy 2 or 3 replacements, because I don't know if everyone remembers, but when Brentford were down in they had Mopé, they had Ben Rama, they had all these kind of players. They had a couple other players before that, and essentially what they kept doing was selling on these players for larger profit and then buying in the cheaper replacement for like
Brentford is playing Moneyball, bro. They're playing Moneyball.
It's not Moneyball. It's the Tony Bloom system. If you actually look into Tony Bloom and one of his, I think he's got 3 businesses that have the same concept. He's thinking and gambling like steps ahead. Like he that's his whole concept. That's why he's actually half decent at poker as well, because he calculates ahead of like that's a system you cannot replicate. That is why the man is a millionaire. He has a very unique system that he sells to companies in, I believe it's America. I think he does it in some parts of Europe as well. He's got this system, or he's got this programming system where he's several steps ahead of everything. And he sells this program to corporations and multimillionaires, and essentially it picks and gives you the analysts and gambling prospects of whatever your, essentially like a bespoke system. So he uses it under Brighton, and that is why they are able to slowly progress, despite the fact they're selling players on for multi-millions of pounds of profit. And he keeps on using this system. And the guy at Brentford, I can't remember his name, left under Tony Bloom and took that concept to Brentford, and it's worked for them as well. So the thing is, you can't replicate that because it's his program, it's his system. So I know a lot of people keep going, well, look at us and compare us to Brighton and stuff like that, but we just need to think about that a little bit, because that it's there, it exists, and that's the reason why it's so successful for them.
So what do we do? Because it's been 10 years. I think people are forgetting that these clubs got promoted after us. It's not just.
It's true.
So
it's all about.
What's our model? We don't even have a model. It doesn't feel like we have a model. We have owners that are arguing with each other. That's what it feels like, and that's what I'm saying.
It's a good question. And it's a good question. I think it was very good that them bring it to the table to debate as well. We have to figure out what that is, and we and you don't have that. A, we don't have the solution, and B, we're not even in the room to have that conversation. That's down to Steve Parish and whoever's running it, him, Doogie, whoever. We have to create our own concept, whatever it may be. I don't have the answers, man. I'm so dejected with all of this anyway. It is what it is. But I'm just thought I'd just shed a bit of light on that. There's actually YouTube videos about it. I don't know if I want to be promoting other people's YouTube on there, but whatever. But there's also articles. HICT Sevens did a video on it. It was about an hour or half an hour, and it talks about it in detail, and it talks about Tony Bloom and how it kind of operates and how it works. So if you do get a bit of spare time, I would recommend having a look butchers at that, because it's an interesting thing, and it makes you kind of look into it a little bit more. So it's just, I know a lot of people are talking about, well, why can't we do it like Brighton? Why can't we do it like Brentford? It's because they've got these structures in place. We need our own structure, and whatever that comes in, that's down to us down to Paris to sort that shit out.
Exactly. We need a structure.
Excuse my language.
That's what it feels like. We need a structure. That's what it feels like.
Yeah.
Right now, it doesn't feel like we have a structure based on what's been going on. You know,
And that's one of the things.
even the players that we got rid of.
Well, I think that's one of the things you have to
It's
take into
unbelievable.
consideration. That's part of the reason why these teams had their success in the championship and they got promoted to the Premier League, and now they're having success in the Premier League. They had a system in place and they had things that they were doing in order to have the success to get promoted, and now to have the success in the Premier League and to be stable. It's infrastructure. It's like AJ was saying, it's a system that they had in place. You know, I can't say that we had that. Maybe, you know, maybe that's just not the case of how we came to be, or how we, maybe that's the difference between what they call yo-yo teams. You know what I'm saying? Teams that go up and teams that go back down. They don't have the structure. They don't have things in place to help them build and progress and keep getting better and solidifying themselves in the higher leagues. You know what I'm saying? So honestly, I think that is something that we do need.
And that's why, unless that happens to you, I want him gone. I want someone that's a football man to come over. I feel like we've hit our limit. We don't have that. With the fact that we're talking about this after 10 years, it's just unbelievable.
Because you can only fly by the seat of your pants. You can only wing it for so long.
Exactly. That's the thing. It's just winging it for so long, and we're back here with Hodgson as a manager. It's not because it's Roy Hodgson's fault, as I've said this many times. It's the fact that we don't have a structure. It's just unbelievable. 10 years in the Premier League and we don't have a structure. That's just poor. That's just poor from German. That's awful. I'm sorry, but that is awful.
But then I think what it comes down to what we talked about, like, and it's kind of like, how do things translate? You know, it sounds like from what AJ was saying, Bloom's his skill set translated very well to finding success within this world because of the systems that he's created. You may not be able to say the same for Steve Parrish, and I think a lot of that is because Steve Parrish did what he did because he had the love for the club, and as a fan of the club, he wanted to save it, and he knew he was in a place to help out. But he's not a football guy necessarily as far as the ins and outs, and he doesn't have maybe that system schematically for business that can translate over to seeing success in this type of forum. So
yeah, that's what my problem is. But look, AJ and T, I know you both have to head off, but appreciate your time anyways. We'll catch up.
Always, man.
We'll go again,
Appreciate it,
lads. We'll go again.
Cool.
Lots of love, people.
All right, cool. Exactly. All right, cool. Take care, bro. All right, cool. That's AJT. Next up, then bring on Tim. If you guys want to call in and have your say, click on the pinned comment. We'll be going on as long as you guys call in. Once it's done, we'll move on. Tim, sorry for the wait.
No, man. And I'm sorry that I only I only have like 5 minutes. You guys have been hitting on most of it. I just wanted to make it. I mean, I loved Dem's points, and I mean, I'm as frustrated, obviously, as everybody else. The only thing I want to bring up, D, just super quick, is the other thing that Brighton does before we get too wrapped up in comparing ourselves to Brighton. Tony Bloom doesn't just have a system. He is willing to write checks and run big operating losses on Brighton. And the way that financial fair play works is if you bring somebody up and you make a big profit on when you sell out. I mean, this is one of the things that Brighton can do. You know, they sell Mark Cucurella, for example. They make a huge profit on that, and that counts for financial fair play, and that helps them out. That gives them a lot. They are a good strategic selling club. But just for perspective, like the latest accounts we have going to fiscal 2021, Brighton spent roughly on their operating budget. They spent about 50 million more than we did in operating expenses, and their turnover, their revenue, about the same. Not really much different. And here's the other thing, and I hate to abandon you, D, but I only have a couple of minutes. But here's the other thing. I understand. I don't love the panic. And I have to say, I think this appointment of Roy, I do think this is a straight up panic move. So I agree with those who are saying that. You know, going back to fiscal 2016, like all the way historically, broadcasting has been about 80%. It's been about 80% of our overall turnover. That's what we've gotten. And then in fiscal 2021, it's 87%. So we don't know what it's up to now, but why is Parrish panicking? If you want to call it that, I do think this is a panic move, because when 87% or minimum of 80% of the money that you got coming through the door is at risk, I don't think you should panic, but I can understand where that comes from. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Just quickly before you go, Roy Hodgson, I remember when we done the Vieira second show, you said that can't happen. Surely just media talk. It has happened. How do you feel about that, anyways?
I mean, so I saw your post on Twitter, D, about trying to get to the positives, and I'm doing the same, man. I'm trying to get to the positives, and here's where I've kind of landed on it. You know, Vieira never got, I don't know why, but he never got the most out of Ebbs, and Ebbs is a key player for us. So, and Roy brought him in. So, is there a scenario where Roy can get a little bit more out of Ebbs, can get a little bit more out of Tyreek because he brought him up through the academy? Can he blood a couple of the academy players for us? Can he help us get David Ozo to, a more regular spot in the lineup? I mean, I don't know. I think it's going to be awful hard to watch lockdown football. And I hate that, D, but at the same time, look, if we get the points and we stay up, and then we figure out a way to become a progressive team again in the summer, all right, we go again. We go again. I don't love it, but look, if this is what's required for us to stay in the league, then I mean, I'll put it this way. I'm Palace till I die. So he's our guy. Let's go. LFG,
Exactly.
let's go.
Behind him. Exactly.
Yeah.
You have to be behind him. But look, Tim, I know you have to go. That's why I wish you could have stayed on longer. Sorry about the wait. Anyways,
No,
I wish you
no,
could have stayed on longer. We could have talked about Steve Parrish. But yeah, just quickly before you go, my point mainly is the fact that you mentioned the operating losses. So Brighton are investing money. So if we're not investing money, if we're the lowest spenders in the Premier League, what's the plan going forward? Because as it stands right now, I feel like this squad, regardless of who you bring in next season, will get relegated. We're not even replacing players, and there's going to be Wilf that's going to be leaving as well. So that's what I'm saying. I don't understand our structure. At least their structure is spending money, investing in data, and investing in these players, and that's the way forward. But what is Palace's move? And that's where I'm frustrated. You need 10 years in the Premier League. You need to have something in place. And right now, with the talks about the owners not getting along with each other and all of the other stuff, it's just frustrating. I feel like there's a change needed by the people running the football club, and that is Steve Parrish. But
I agree, but I mean, something that Dem said, something similar to what she said. I think you could make a criticism that the plan isn't working, but I do think there is a plan. The problem is the plan is mismatched. So what I mean is that there is a clear long-term focus on getting us to a Category 1 academy and actually getting players that we can ultimately sell and do more of what we've done in the past. Like we sold Balassi for 50 million pounds. We sold Wan-Bissaka for 50 million pounds. Like we want to actually have that. We want to build a future, and Parrish is behind that. The problem is you can't have it where you're going to invest for the long term, D, and then at the minute that things aren't going right in the short term, you eject. So you're like, hey, I'm all in for the long term, but then you start short term thinking, and then you just start blowing shit up. Like that doesn't really work. So I do think there's a plan, but it's not like we had it and then we blew it up, and now are we going to do it again? I mean, I hope
that's why I don't have faith. I've lost faith. That's why I don't have faith. Until that faith is restored, I've just lost faith. I just don't know exactly what they're thinking. I don't know what's going to happen in summer.
I get it.
It's massive. I guess we have to sell to buy. 100% understand that. But with our recruitment, not that it's being bad, I just feel like it's so limited that it could also go wrong. You could sell and end up getting worse players. Like it's not always going to be the elite says.
That's Wan-Bissaka. That's exactly what happened. Where's our right back?
And that's my problem. And that's why if we don't have the proper systems in place, how can I trust these lot? How can I?
I get it. I get it, man. I mean, I'm nervous too, But I mean, I'm nervous about Roy, but we go again, get our 10 points and stay up, and dear God, hope for the summer that things get better. But anyway, I'm sorry I got to run, dude.
No worries, Tim. Really appreciate your time.
You're the man. All right.
All right, then. Take care,
See
Tim.
ya.
Thank you. That was Tim. Michael's been waiting for a while. Let's bring on Michael next onto the show. Michael, how you doing?
Yeah, you good?
Yeah, I'm good. Roy Hodgson finally announced. How do you feel about it?
I mean, you can't blame Roy for taking the job at the end of the day. You know, it's like his childhood club. He's seeing, you know, what seems to be going down the drain. And he can tell that, you know, the club needs to be fixed. And I'm not being funny, but he's not the man to take us on after the end of summer. And I think what Steve Parish is doing here is that he's trying to make it out as if Roy is still up to date with our football. I don't think that works.
Why don't you think it works? What is it that concerns you?
I mean, well, when he plays, it's so defensive. It's just really boring. It's not up to standard of Premiership, you know, entertainment. And as a Palace fan, you know, I think we can all agree during that era of lockdown, when we was watching Roy football at its prime, none of us wanted to watch the football. And I think that might happen again when he comes back.
There's ways that could be winning from this. Who do you think benefits from Roy coming back to the club?
I definitely think that our more defensive style players like Luca, those kind of players will get a bit more game time with Roy returning. But I still don't see why we would play defensive if we need to get points. We need to secure points.
In the short term, do you think it's a case of, you know, you've got Leicester coming up, you've got Leeds, he's got like a week or so to plan for that. How big are them games? I mean, if we lose against Leicester, right now people are frustrated as it is, but then again, it gets a bit scary, not only just for Roy's sake.
He has to really kick it off with this Leicester game. You know, he has to get the win. And then when's the West Ham at home game? We've also got to win that one as well. Like, we're looking at these games and the form that, like, the bottom half of the team, the bottom half of the table are on is a lot better than our form. And going into these games, you know, we could be looking at several losses if nothing changes.
In terms of younger players that's been in the squad, because the squad has improved since Roy has joined, do you think that will also help Roy? Because remember, we had Gary Cahill, Scott Dan, and we had the much older players before in Roy's time, but now that we replace them with Anderson, Gahey, do you think with his ideas alongside these players, do you think we have enough quality to stay up?
I mean, yeah, we've 100% got the quality. You know, we wouldn't be having all these talks on Sky Sports saying, you know, where are our players going to go when we get relegated? Because, you know, they think we're going to get relegated, and they know our players are of high quality, so they're wondering where they're going to go if we do. And so I think that just shows we definitely have the quality to stay up.
In terms of players, how much do you think they need to take responsibility as well? Because some of the performances haven't been great in individual bases. Eze's been out of form. He hasn't been great all season long. Even Wilf lately, he hasn't really done much going forward. So for you, how much responsibility do these players need to take?
I mean, when I went to the Villa away game in Birmingham, you know, we lost, you know, fair square. It was an own goal, but at the same time, we were still poor. Like, we didn't look like we wanted to win that game at all. You know, why bring, like, our best players off and then sub Mateta on, who's absolute shit? Like, sorry about that, but Mateta, he's one of those players where you just can't guarantee goals out of him. And I feel with him in our squads, his hold-up play is awful. You know, he ducks for headers when he's 6'4". You know, he's one of the biggest players on the pitch, and that's including the goalkeepers, you know. And he's still afraid of, you know, taking those 50-50s, you know, trying to go for the header. And, you know, sometimes it won't work, but it seems to be that every time he avoids the header, he avoids the clashes with defenders, and he just waits for, like, either Zaha or Elise to run past him.
Yeah. Well, Mateta didn't even play as much. That's the thing. He didn't play as much under Roy.
Yeah, well, with Roy, I think, you know, Mateta wasn't awful, to be fair. You know, he got goals, you know, that Brighton goal. I think that did
but they didn't play him after. It was a bit weird. That's what was coming on here and just saying, why is Mateta not starting? Well, I guess we know why now. Well, depends on if you look at the whole 2 years. He hasn't done enough, especially this season.
I think the way we've treated Edouard personally is been down to like favourites, you know, because it's clear to see Vieira has favourites when he was at the club, you know. Although, you know, they were valid reasons. Like if someone's not trying in the training ground, you can't blame a manager for not wanting to not play him. But I think with the quality of Edouard compared to Mateta, I don't see how we can't be playing him over Mateta.
But then can't you say the same thing about Roy? He had his favourites as well. I don't know if you remember the times, but then you had the likes of James McCarthy starting. James McCarthy, like there was options off the bench that he didn't. He made the same subs as well. So with a fresher squad, do you think he will rely on the more experienced players?
I think we'll definitely see Mac introduced a bit more often with Roy in the club, but I don't think it will overly influence like the likes of Eze playing. Although he has been, you know, really bad, he's been out of form. You know, I feel like when Zaha got injured, that was Elise's time to show, you know, I can step up to being the next, you know, Zaha, but I can be the next big man. And he didn't. It's not that he crumbled. He just didn't show that he had it in him just yet. And I feel like that's why we need to, you know, wait on him a little bit longer and not just sell him to the next person that bids on him.
Do you think
what did you say?
Do you think we'll stay up?
You know, I've got confidence. You know, last time I was on here, I said, you know, it could be a high chance that we do go down. But I still think, you know, with Roy Bull, it might be boring. It might be slow. But if it gets us, you know, to staying in the league just to the end of the summer, and then we can, you know, throughout summer, we can plan, or even now we can plan for what happens for next season if we can have that reliability. But I feel like, yeah, we will stay up this season.
Okay. Any other things that you want to say, Michael?
No, not really. I feel like we just need to trust the process, you know, of what is going on. I feel like it is a famous word to trust the process, but, you know, we can't really control the club. We're not like we're in the German league where, you know, the fans own 51% or anything. We really do have to trust our owners here. And I feel like that's when we've got to show trust in the likes of, you know, Steve Parish, even though, you know, he is more of a businessman at the current moment than he is a passionate, like, fan of the club. I still think we do have to trust him next few decisions.
Do you have faith in him? That's interesting because I don't, in all honesty. But so, do you have faith in Parish?
No, I feel like how can you be coming to games in cars that are worth nearly, you know, 400 grand and then saying that you can't afford to invest into a club, or not to invest, but you can't afford to spend over a certain amount during the transfer window.
To be fair to him, I mean, the money that's needed to invest is more than just the car. Yeah. I don't think he has the money. I don't think Parish has the money. But then again, this is where my point goes down to. He's only 10% shareholder. There's people with the money. But then when you hear conflicting reports about people willing to, you know, John Textor willing to put in £30 million in January and how we didn't go ahead and spend that money, I thought that's fair. We wait till the summer and we push on there. But then again, we're in this position now. So it's I don't know. It's just a bit shocking, our position. It's all confusing. I mean, there's players that we haven't replaced in a while. It's 10 years in the Premier League. Some accountability needs to be held. It's not 1 year, 2 years. In the 10 years in the Premier League, we've had this one excitement. Go ahead.
The 10 years we've been in the Prem, though, we haven't, you know, those 10 years, in my opinion, don't feel deserved of a 10-year Premier League. Like, we haven't shown that, yes, we can stay in here for another 10 years. You know, we're very, like, we could definitely be a yo-yo club within the next, you know, 5 years. You know, you don't know these kind of things. Like if someone said when we first joined the Premier League, you'll be in here for another 10 years, you would think we'd have some progression in where we're finishing, but it doesn't seem like we have that.
Exactly.
Like it seems to be.
That's the thing. Yeah, we had this 1 year. We had this 1 year of excitement, and then afterwards it's back to square one. Yeah, there's no succession plan. That's what annoys me the most.
I don't see how you can sack Vieira and then not have a. I feel like the only person Steve Parish did get in touch with must have been, what's his name? I don't know. It's thrown out. Yeah, Roy Hodgson. Like, I don't get how that. I feel like if you're replacing Vieira, surely the best option is to go out and look for a manager that has, you know, it's maybe a similar play style, but just a little bit more of experience in the Premier League. But for me, Roy Hodgson's a complete, you know, we're leaping miles backwards. You know, it seemed like last season we took like 2 steps forward. It looked like we was actually progressing into, you know, the top half of the table, you know. If we didn't concede goals past the 80th minute or something, or the 90th, I'm pretty sure we would have finished in like the top eight of the.
Yeah, top 10 at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I done the calculation as well. We should have finished top 10 last year if it wasn't for
Yeah.
individual errors, silly errors, and luck conceding last minute goals.
But then it seems like, since January, it's not even been most of the season, to be fair. It's been since January. It seems like we've just erased everything that we've done that was good from last season up until January, and we've just erased it. And we've said, nope, we want to go back to our old ways of,
It's not even just the case that Vieira got. Yeah, it's not even the case that Vieira just got sacked. It's the fact that it starts, for me, the problem starts in the summer. The problem is bigger than just the season, but the problem starts in the summer. We've needed to strengthen, improve positions that we needed even when Vieira first joined the club, and we still haven't improved them position. The right backs, he was only backed 1 out of 4 windows. Now, forget about Vieira for a second. If you're a manager that wants to join a Premier League club and that wants to be sold a project, the Vieira situation doesn't help their cause. I'm sorry, but it doesn't. Not the fact that Vieira was unsuccessful, because it does seem like he was unsuccessful. He got sacked, but the fact that he only got backed out of 1 out of the 4 windows. If you didn't have faith in him, then you should have maybe sacked him earlier. Not that I agree with it, but the whole decision making just doesn't make any sense. It just makes the club look much worse than it should be.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I agree. If you're a manager looking at our club, other than Roy Hodgson, you're not really feeling confident in that the board that you're going to be working with will back you, or the board you're going to be working with will fund, your plans in development. Like, we're talking about, we need to set up developments, like different developments. Instead of looking at the championship, we should be looking at, these South American sides. But if our board isn't going to back us, even with our own embedded systems in the championship, how do we know they're going to back us if let's say we set up a system in South America? How do we know they're going to back us with that as well? And if a manager wants to come in and do that, they're not going to be so inclined to join if they know that the board might not back them.
Yeah, look, well, in the short term, we have to stay up. That's the most important thing. Forget about our future manager. I'm pretty sure we'll come on here and talk about future managers once we do stay up. But for now, we just have to stay up, because if we don't stay up, it could get way more messier than this.
Yeah,
that's what I have to say. I mean, it'd be scary.
We're not
scary.
in the best
America
now. Yeah,
exactly. So we just have to stay up. But any other things that you want to say, Michael?
Nah, it's all good for me.
All right, then, Michael. Really appreciate your call.
Have a good one.
Take care, you too. That was Michael having to say. If you guys want to join, have your say, click on the pinned comment. If not, we're going to wrap this up in just a second. We'll go through some of the comments that you guys have been posting throughout the show. So if you have any thoughts, share it in the comment section as well. I've been reading them throughout the show. Don't worry about that. But of course, I couldn't bring them up on the screen. So let's start off with Looney. He says Vieira for Edouard in Turkey. That's why he never played him. It was disciplinary thing. That's why Parish got upset as well, as they invested in Edouard, and Vieira's grievance affected that. Now, I understand that, but not every investment is going to work out. Now, if Parish has a problem with the fact that Vieira dropped a player that had a disciplinary problem, or that he fell out with Edouard, then I mean, there's going to be other managers that's not going to get along with other players. It still doesn't give a good look. You have to have faith in the manager. What does this go down to? Parish didn't have faith in Vieira. If he didn't have faith in Vieira, then I'm not saying he should have done this, but if you don't have faith in a manager, then why don't you sack him from before? Do you get? It still doesn't reason for me, anyways. It doesn't reason the fact that it's an okay thing. Parish got upset about that. If you get upset about that, this is going to happen in with other managers. I mean, with Roy Hodgson, he didn't get along with Mateta. That's fine. It's football. But then you have to have faith in your manager. If you don't have faith in your manager, why wait 3 months? You can't just hold grudges based on investment. There's also other investments. So Parish made investments on Elise, on Gahey, on Anderson, on Eze. Well, if you take away this season, majority of these investments worked out well. Even last season, Eze was working out well to a certain extent. So just because he fell out with one player and got along with the others, it doesn't mean that he's been a complete failure. You know, that's how I see the situation anyways. All right, if I ask you the same question, will Vieira still in charge? Still think we're staying up or going down? So what do you guys think? Do you think we're going up or down? Well, not up or down. We're not going no promotion. But do you think we're going down? For me, I said it at the start of the show. I don't think we'll go down. I don't know how comfortable will be for us to stay up. It depends on what Roy we get and what Palace we get. Because if it was the 17-18 season, many people are tending to forget about that because I don't blame you. It's been a while. It's been about, 5 years? If it's that case, we will actually play some decent football under Roy and, scoring goals, being solid defensively and, winning games. If it's that Palace, then I think we should stay up comfortably with the opponents that we got coming up. But if it's the case of we play like how we did towards the end of Roy's period at the club, then I still think we'll stay up, but we might just scrape it. It might be way more closer than I expected. But the fact that we're in this position is absolutely bonkers in the first place. Gareth says we have missed Maka in midfield this season. Decore is always a red card risk. Schlupp is not midfielder. Sambia has shown promise, but now Vieira is gone. Who knows? But the Maka midfield situation, I mean, we got rid of Kouyaté, we got rid of Gallagher, but Maka midfield situation started from last year. If Maka was going to be a problem in midfield, then why did it take us till January to bring in another midfielder? That goes down to the recruitment. I mean, Maka, there was no... he was injured last year. So if that was the case last year, if you considered his age factor as well, we should have brought in another midfielder. Decore wasn't enough. Decore was a Kouyaté replacement. And that's what I'm talking about. We technically got lost 3 midfielders in terms of Gallagher, Maka, and also Kouyaté. And we only brought in 1 in the summer. That was Decore. So that goes down to the recruitment side of things once again. Because Maka was never... I said it when Vieira first joined. The high intensity is going to catch up to Maka. He's 35, 36 years old. He's not going to be keeping this up for 90 minutes throughout the season. Now, if I know that, the club should know that as well. It's obvious. Maka got injured. He's out. It was obvious. He's 35, 36. So why don't we bring in another replacement? That goes down to recruitment for me anyways. Let's go through some more comments. Vieira could keep us up as well as untenable. Look, yep. I mean, sacking Vieira, we'll see if it works out or not. I guess in the short term, if Roy Hodgson... By the way, if Roy Hodgson keeps us up, how I see it anyways, I don't think it's a case of Parish got right or wrong. It's just bigger than Roy. I mean, this squad should be staying up with Vieira, with Roy Hodgson as well. And I didn't think we'll get relegated with Vieira, as bad as it might sound. Because we have some winnable games coming up. I thought he would change the system, go more attacking, and we'll manage to pick up wins here and there. This squad should stay up. Our problems are bigger than just, if we get relegated, that'll be absolutely awful, even with Roy Hodgson. That'd be absolutely terrible. And then Parish 100% has to go. But yeah, this squad, should stay up with regardless of if it's Roy Hodgson or Vieira. They should be staying up. What's the thoughts on Ahamada? Seems to hardly get minutes. I get Sambi probably has some loan appearance clause, but still, Ahamada I think is a long-term replacement. I feel like Ahamada, even if Roy did stay, we're going to see more of him next season. He's had some nice appearances off the bench, but I'm not too sure why why Vieira didn't play him as much. But yeah, Ahamada, I feel like he'll get more game time next season. But look, there's a caller. Is all?
Yep.
Roy Hodgson back at the club, the famous maker. You must be loving
Nah, not really.
it. So what are you upset about, or have questions about?
It's just how the boards have reacted, like getting him in, like as soon as he's gone. Let's get Vieira in. Not Vieira.
Roy Hodgson.
I'm just juggling. Yeah, Roy Hodgson. Let's get Roy Hodgson in without looking for a better option. So he had this planned all along.
So is it just a case of the planning that's the issue for you? Is the replacement for Vieira? I don't remember asking you. Did you want Vieira to go or leave? Not that it matters now, but
I think he did ask me that last time, but
I can't remember.
Yeah,
honestly, there's a lot of people that
I was mixed. Yeah, he can. I wouldn't mind if he left if it weren't for the fact that we were going to get Hodgson as replacement. But if we knew that, I would have definitely kept Vieira till the end of the season.
Does Hodgson in the short term make sense to you though? 10 games. It's only 10 games.
I mean,
for me, the problem is bigger than Hodgson. I've said this about 50 times now, but in the short term, do you understand the decision? And for now,
I see why it's happened. Like, because which manager are you going to get? Like third for 10 games left of the season. Who you gonna bring? Are you gonna get who's gonna like a manager in the job? it's going to be very, very difficult to get him to persuade him to leave and come to you with 10 games left.
Exactly. In terms of Roy, what's your give me a positive about it and one negative about the appointment. I know you're not happy about the decision, but he knows Wilf, he knows the players around us. I guess that's a positive. I'm trying to figure positive. I'm not saying, by the way, I need to try be as balanced as I can be, even though probably not showing it. But that's the one positive. The negative is that we're here. Everyone's upset about the situation. Clearly, it's uninspiring, which is not Roy's fault once again. He's a Palace fan. But for you, one positive and one negative about the situation.
Positive is I could make memes on him.
Make memes on him. With the negative?
Just go back to the lockdown season where my love for football was deteriorating.
Yeah, I haven't said this so far on the show, but it reached a point where towards the end, I don't know if people feel like this, but I hated watching football.
Funny thing is, I have a local team and they were doing absolutely amazing during that lockdown season. I so happened to work that help out with them during the lockdown season, so I was very privileged to go to football and help out with them. And they ended up getting promoted, which was great. But that measured, as you can say, that measured the Palace that last season under Roy Hodgson.
Yeah. In terms of staying up, do you think we can do it under Roy?
No comment.
No comment. Come on, give me an answer. Give me one answer.
Okay. If we beat Leicester, yes, but if we don't, I fear what's going to happen.
Yeah. All right. So it's Leicester. So Leicester's a must win then. If you don't win Leicester, you think there's chance of us going down. To be fair, that's a fair point though. If you don't beat Leicester, then I think that morale could be impacted. But that's a massive game. Massive game.
I just want to know how the crowd's going to react like in Sellers. I think the cheers will outweigh the boos. Not that you want to see the boos, but I can't find my words.
Yeah, you just want to see a bit more, maybe like a bit more positivity. Hopefully, as people are frustrated with Parish, it's just the fact that Roy's here. It's time to back him for 10 games anyways. And then from there, if you're angry, frustrated, aim them at the people that you're frustrated at. Because I know some people might say I'm frustrated at Roy. That's why I'm going to aim at him. But then again, why are you frustrated at him? It's not like Roy said to Steve Parish, sack Vieira and bring me back. Like that's not what he said. So there's no point being angry at Roy in my opinion, anyways. But saying that, there might be times where we come on a live match reaction, and there might be times I'm very annoyed with Roy. But then again, it's not his fault. It's not his fault that he's in this position. That's the main thing about it. But any other things that you want to say?
It's just if we do stay up or not, and Roy eventually leaves, I just fear how long it's going to take to replace him. Because the last time it took ages when it should have been done like 2 weeks or a month.
That's a good point. Yeah, it's a good point. Even when we appointed Vieira, it took a while. It felt like a while anyways. It was a last choice, I guess. But
those things that move, like when you put your food item in Sainsbury's or Tesco's. that's the board. That's the board.
Just slowing the decision making.
Yeah.
But look, I appreciate you calling into the show. Thank you.
Cheers.
Take care. That's all. Next up, there's a few people waiting on behind the scenes. No, we got time, Chris. So don't worry, we'll bring you on, and Sibs as well. But if you guys can, I'll say it now. If you can turn on the camera, that'll be much appreciated. If not, no worries, we'll bring you on. I'll read just a few more comments before we bring on Sibs. Looney says, remember when I mentioned about scouting in Asia on one of the shows, and you asked and he said he'll scout in France, which is what we're doing anyway. Now I hope you know what I mean. We we shouldn't just scout on Asia. We should. I don't think T was wrong as well. We should scout on France because of the Vieira links. But I mean, our scouting should be way wider than it is right now. Well, it feels like anyways right now, where it seems like it's just France, UK, maybe Germany. It just seems so limited. So yeah, I would like us to scout in other countries. But then again, to do that, you need to be willing to invest in a scouting system. You definitely, it's not going to just be a case of, oh, you just buy a few computers and just analyze data. You just have to, have the whole infrastructure in place. So the people running a football club need to set it up. Well, look, let's bring on the next few guests. Let's start off with Sibs first. Sibs, you there?
Yo, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, bro. How do you feel about the whole situation? Roy Hodgson back at the club?
You know what? Like, I didn't want Vieira out at all, but you got to look at the positives as well. Like, when we had Roy in the past, he brought the best out of Eze. Like, I know he got injured, but he brought the best out of him. When Mitchell was coming through, that was under Roy. So like little things like that. Like when Vieira was managing, Elise stagnated this season. Mitchell's regressed. Like I know he plays a lot of game, but he's regressed 100%. You just look all over the team. Players like Edward, he's 25, and he has not improved at all since he come in. Like I get that's the Premier League, it's a step up, but these players aren't improving. We've got a young team, but for what? Like Chris Richards, every time he's played, being one of our best players, but then Anderson gets injured and they're playing Tompkins. Obviously, I hear that's not Vieira's fault, but it's just not adding up to me. So I'm hoping Roy can come in, and I'm hoping it's like the 17-18 season when we had like Loftus-Cheek and stuff. And I'm just hoping we just score some goals, man. Like the defense ain't the problem. Just play with some freedom. Just tell him to put his arm around Eze and Elise, show him some love and let him express themselves, because that will bring the goals, in my opinion.
Yeah. So do you think we'll end up scoring the goals under Roy? Because for me, especially towards the end, that's what I'm saying. It depends on what Roy we get. But then again, as you mentioned, Ruben Loftus-Cheek we had. I mean, Townsend was at his peak as well. Wilp was at his peak. And with the attacking plays that we got right now, if it's similar, well, with Elise potentially, Wilp, we still got Wilp, we got Eze, we got some decent attacking plays. So if you can go back to the 17-18 season and what he done there, then maybe we could end up scoring goals and winning these games comfortably. So it depends on what Roy we get and how he wants to approach things. But then again, he might also be cautious, because there's also a bigger risk that if you lose against Leicester, then that'll be awful. And if you lose against Leeds, so it depends on his mentality and going forward. Because if we stayed up so far, then I think he'll go for it. But then again, I think he has to balance things out. So we'll see how he approaches it. But for you, just the appointment on Roy, when Vieira got sacked, you wasn't happy with Vieira. What do you make of that decision in the first place, in the short term?
It's, like I said, I didn't want Vieira out. Like I was very much on the fence. Like some days I'd be like Vieira out, other days I'd be Vieira in. Obviously Parish has pulled the trigger. I understand that. Like, obviously, no win in 3 months is crazy, but at the same time, I don't think Roy was the answer. Like I see the logic, like to save pair of hands. But that would make more sense if he were leaking goals. Like the defense was never the issue. So bringing a defensive like minded manager doesn't really make sense to me. But like I said, I'm trying to look at the positives. Like he did get a tune out of Zaha. Obviously, I don't want him to play Zaha up front because that ain't the answer either. But he got a tune out of Zaha as I want to see what he can do with Elise. Maybe get Schlupp at left back. Like there's options there, and like he's been around the block long enough. I feel like he's a Palace boy as well, so he cares what happens. So yeah, man, obviously, like you said, it depends which Roy we get, but even if we don't agree with the decision, we have to just get behind him in it. Like as Selhurst, let's not boo him, let's not get onto Parish, let's just get behind the team, because I think that'll make a huge difference.
Yeah, we have to. We can't make Selhurst toxic. As much as I've lost faith in Parish, there's ways of going about it. I don't think it's the right thing to go to Selhurst first game back as Roy as a manager and start booing and it's not going to help no one. It's not going to help anyone. There's different ways of expressing yourself, but I don't think the first, maybe if you stay up and people are frustrated, then fair enough, but especially the first game. What about you? Just quickly about Parish, do you have faith in Parish? Because some people, it's been one of the main conversations. Of course, you appointed Roy as well, but do you have faith in Parish to take us forward? Because you can see it two ways. You can see it as maybe this is one hurdle in the process, or you can see it as maybe this is all he can do. This is his limits.
Nah, for me, Parish is done. Like he's got to go. Like I always had time for him because he was a Palace fan as well. But like you said in the show, like he's a businessman now. Like his own interests come first, and he's showing it now. And it's just unforgivable bringing Roy back. Like I just, as much as I don't blame Roy at all. Like this has to fall on the board. Like someone's got to take accountability. Like even his interview with Sky Sports, like it was just, it felt like a cop out. There was no accountability. There was no real reason. For me, he's got to go. But obviously, he's not going to go. Like we've also said as well, he's making a lot of money from this. If we stay in the Premier League, that money will continue to come in. So he's not going anywhere. So you might as well just get behind him, and just hope. Like I think it was the lady who was on here. Let's just hope like we get some consortium or some billionaire investor who comes in and buys them out. But for now, we just got to settle and just try rebuild in the summer. Try get someone decent and just see what we can do next year.
Yeah, look, Sibs, I really appreciate your call, bro.
No worries, man. Appreciate it.
All right, then. Take care. That was Sibs having his say. Next up, we got Chris. Chris, welcome onto the show. Oh, so you're Bollocks 3000. That's good. That's good. It's good to have these people. Have you been on before? Oh, whoa. He disappeared. Great. He disappeared. I guess his phone cut out before people make theories that I that I cut him out. That people love to do. That I cut out people. Chris is back. Chris, just tell them it wasn't my fault. It was yours. You cut out, right? It wasn't me that kicked you out.
No, I hit the run button and I came off. I'm on my phone today rather than on my laptop, so I hit the run button and changed that.
Okay. Oh yeah, I know you, Chris. I can recognize your voice. You was on the other day as well, right?
So firstly, I've got to say lots of love to you and everyone else who produces this show, because it keeps us sane in these times to vent and hear other people's opinions. Of course, I don't always agree with it, but I really appreciate the work that you lot put into the show.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you. Without you guys, as I always say, without you guys, even everyone that agrees, disagrees, it doesn't matter. As long as, this is a platform where people can come on here, have their say, whether you agree with me, disagree with me, disagree with people's comments, feel free. That's what I'm trying to build this channel onto. That is a way that Palace fans can come on here and just have their say, just let it out, however you're feeling. If you're happy, if you're sad, But yeah, look, Chris, Roy's back. How do you feel about that?
I don't know. I was a little bit peed off at first, but I think about it, it's a sensible choice, a bit boring choice. I feel a bit sorry for Roy, but I suppose hopefully it's a happy ending and he gets a good send off, because he never really got one in those kind of coronavirus times. It was bleak for him to be managing as it was to be watching the shit that we were being served up. Excuse my language. But I feel he's the right man for it. I do fear a lot because the bottom half of the table has never been so competitive, and every one of those teams has got players that can turn a game. And on top of that, you've got some big teams down there. So going to teams that are going to like London Stadium, or going to City Ground, Molineux, they're intimidating places, and I don't know if our players have got the courage for that, having seen how they performed at City Ground and at Goodison Park a few times recently.
Yeah, you say that, but I feel like the teams below us, I don't think we've had a Premier League season where there's been that many also terrible teams. Because when you look at it, I mean, even the likes of West Ham and Bournemouth, the reason why we're all here, we haven't won a game in 3 months. That just shows quality below us. We haven't won a game in 3 months and we still are 12th. That's mental. It's not like we had a great start of the season as well. It's been a struggle all along the season. It's been so inconsistent this season, which shows the quality below us. But then again, if you don't beat the teams that are this terrible, that they've been below you in 3 months, then the fan base, it might get worse. And I think it will get worse. And that's why the lesser game is significant. So for you, Chris, of course, Roy, he's a short-term appointment, but do you think it's so important that he gets the first few games right, especially starting with Leicester? Because if he doesn't, then the morale could drop.
Yeah, that you don't know if it's going to be a case of we do a quick kickoff that we do that sort of weird chip we've done for the last 25 years out to left flank and it goes out of play straight away and we get position. But I don't know why we've done that for so many years. But it's just, Yeah, so I'm going to go out that way and be some sort of relegation scrap. But I've watched Leicester a few times. They were lucky against Southampton. They got bundles of energy. They got Maddison in the back. So it's going to be a very tough game. But we got to get that Selhurst Park intimidating for that reason that I said before, because I don't think away games are going to be easy at all. With VAR and the refs with the pressure on their back as well now. Looking at the monitor, you can see it already. So we've got to put our differences aside about Parish and other things, get mathematically safe, and then we can start the inquest into it all.
So how do you?
I hope.
How do you feel about Parish? Sorry to cut you off, but how do you feel about Parish?
No, it's cool. Yeah, I think his time's coming to an end. He's making less calculated decisions, and it's just too much of it stinks. Like, I mean, we've already mentioned before, like, why would you come here as a manager? But when you've got to keep some club legends in as anything from like a scout to your assistant manager to the youth team in the academy, I understand why he wants the consistency, but how can you really put your mark in on that, on a club when you're so restricted in it all, and when you just renew the contracts of players that just aren't up to the level over and over again, haven't renewed for you? It makes it such a tough job. So I think it's time for him to step aside. But as people have pointed out, we're not a very attractive prospect to buy or to manage or to pay for now.
Nothing's attractive right now.
Yeah.
With Palace, it doesn't look like it anyways.
Just a couple of good takeaways. That's about it, really. But
exactly.
I don't think he can manage a club because of that.
Exactly. So, do you think we'll stay up? I can't hear you, Chris, by the way. So.
Okay, now keep getting cut off. But...
Okay, yeah. Do you think we'll stay up?
But thank you for having me on, mate. And I'll say goodbye now before I lose my internet connection.
All right, then, no worries. No worries.
See you.
Thank you. We'll never know if Chris thinks we'll stay up. Maybe in the next show. Before we do bring on Looney next, there's a super chat. Really appreciate the super chat. Can Roy do for us what Dash done at Everton? That's a good question. And you know what? I'm going to bring on Looney, Aaron himself, to answer that super chat. But I really appreciate the super chat and the support throughout the show. But Aaron, I'm throwing you in the deep end. Do you think he can do that? What Dash done at Everton? Well, I don't know what Dash has done at Everton so far. Well, I guess he made them a bit more solid. It's not still the end job.
Yeah. I don't know, I really don't know, man. I mean, it's talking about present, let's get past all the Vieira business now, because we've said all there is to say, innit? It was bound to divide opinion as well. We know it was going to. But our current situation moving forward, I think I've got mixed emotions about it. Maybe it's almost like I can see it going the way I want it to go, and then I can see it all going wrong as well. So the only reason why, one point I think a lot of people are missing, not enough people think about this. And yourself too, I'm not criticizing you, I'm just saying,
feel free, bro. You don't have to agree. We disagree on a lot of things.
A lot of people say, look at the run of fixtures that we had. I don't really think that's anything to go by, because we're in the Premier League. Every single game is hard. We've had games where we beat Man City, and then, for example, just off the top of my head, next week we lose to Bournemouth. So this is what makes me uneasy about even the fixtures that we have left. Everyone's putting a lot of faith in the fixtures we have left, thinking, we'll be all right. Maybe not, actually. Do you know what I mean? Because they're in the same situation as us, so they're going to be fighting the way we are. And it doesn't make me feel better just because they're below us. That, it's going to be easy, because it's not. It's really not. Yeah. So,
they'll be up for it. They'll look at our situation and they'll say, we're facing Palace. There's a team that hasn't won a game in about 3 months.
Precisely.
Exactly. So they're gonna look at us like that, and we're looking at them in a different way. But at the end of the day, it depends on what you do on the pitch. It's not about them and what they think about us. It's about us performing. And do you think Roy in the next 10 games will be able to get the most out of these players?
I think he will. If anyone could do it, it's him. But he's getting a lot older. He's 75. Okay, understandably so. But with McCarthy behind him, I think that will help him do. It will help him do a lot of the heavy lifting. Like, it will take a lot of weight off his shoulders, and it will help him more help his job in terms of make it easier for him. But Hodgson does know his football. He cares a lot about the club, as everyone else previously said has come on. And I don't know, man. I just think it's what you call, how do I say, like, he took a gamble by firing Vieira because it weren't going well with Vieira, but it was a gamble because of the timing. But then he thought, well, now I've taken a gamble firing Vieira. Let me not take a double gamble and go with someone else that we don't know. Do you see what I'm saying? So there's method to his madness in a way. So he thought, fuck it, there's 10 games left. Let me just stick to what we know, try and be sensible here, stay up. Yeah. It's all about staying up now, nothing else. Yeah. So he thought, let me go with Roy, and maybe, just maybe, Roy can do a little bit more with this bunch of players. Because things are a bit different now. We've got a couple more players on the side. Maybe, just maybe, we've got enough to stay up. And then after, we'll think about what we do in the summer. So there is method to his madness. As much as boring football Roy played, but there's method to his madness, man.
So as someone who wanted Vieira out,
Yeah.
and it took this long for Vieira to get sacked, do you see that side of things as well? I wonder how you're feeling about that situation, because you wanted Vieira out for quite a while. I remember you was leaving, your comments saying that Vieira should be done. So for you, even that decision making, it took a while. Why do you think it took that long then? My point is, after this 10 games, do you have faith that we can restart again and take us on to the next level that we've been trying to achieve for a long time? As you know, as I know, 10 years, and the best we've been doing for the majority of the 10 years is just staying up, and we're once here again. So do you still have faith that Parish can take us on to the next level?
No, for that for certain. I agree with you on that fully. I know Parish ain't the man to take us to the next level. But in terms of sacking Vieira, the previous question you asked, I think the reason why it took so long was because really Parish deep down didn't want to sack him either. Because as you said yourself, the guy has got a lot of pull in terms of the players that could come in and stuff like that because of him. And there was a good little vibe around the club when he first joined. The first season didn't do too bad as well. So, yeah, I mean, arguably, that's probably why he was trying to hold back and think, just wait a bit longer, give him more time and see what happens. But then when he saw the run of games, he thought, I've got to do it now or never, make or break. And I think that's the decision he made, so he did.
But then, didn't you see the report about seriously considering sacking him? It's from The Athletic about last year, February. So it took about 13 months ago. So there was doubts there, even from last season. I mean, about that, do you think it's a case of he has a plan and that he just picked Roy Hodgson in the short term? Or if he doesn't, then it's just a shambles. I mean, the fact that you had doubts about a manager and you didn't have names written up, that just shows very bad management, in my opinion, anyways.
Do you know what?
Sacking someone.
If there's no plan, no backup plan, then it can only be bad management. It can't be anything else, can it? But we don't know everything. I don't know. You don't know. Yeah. And there must be something else. Like I said this before, I say it again. Bruv, there has to be something else going on there. There has to be. Because really, it's just bad management. And I don't even think Parish would be that irresponsible to do that just for the sake of it and not have a backup plan. Even if he was thinking about sacking him from February, there had to have been a reason why. And then look, all this stuff like that. If you go back in the timeline, there was news that he wanted to sack him since Feb. Then they didn't back him really in the summer transfer window. Then the squad slowly. I remember I used to come on the show and we was like, "What's going on with the inconsistency?" Do you remember? We was asking each other like, "Well, why? What's with the inconsistency?" And it slowly started unraveling. It just got worse and worse. And the players looked like unfit. They didn't want to play. They just like on the field. We was like, nah, man, the fans deserve their money back. And then the run of form come after the World Cup, which got worse. And then not even any shots on target. And it just got from bad to worse. So something must have happened from back then that Parish was just trying to hold back and not firing to really give him the benefit of the doubt. And I just think in the end he had to because he saw what position we're in the table.
So in terms of, you said that you don't have faith that Parish can take us on to the next level. Would you be happy with him staying at the club then? Or do you think it's a case of what would you like that's different then?
Do you know what? I think I'll really like a new scouting team. Like what you said earlier. That is fundamental, man. I think you're bang on there. Do you know what? Another thing I said this to you and T a couple of months back. You both laughed me off. I said to you, we should be scouting in Japan or Asia. And T said, nah, I think I'll be scouting in France, he said. And now that you've done a 360 and you come back to my point.
Well, you've done the same thing, bro, because trust me, we've seen clips where you've also backed Vieira as well. Trust me.
No, don't worry. I always
change.
I'll give him the benefit of the doubt.
The reason why my opinion has changed is because after the sacking, it's opened my broader perspective on the matter of how we're running the football club. If Roy Hodgson is the man, if everything that we've heard is happening, if Roy Hodgson is the man after 13 months of you seriously, thinking about, potentially sacking this manager, then that's bad management. Then afterwards, I look at the recruitment. We haven't replaced Van Aanholt, you can argue as well. That someone said I never thought about. We haven't replaced Van Aanholt. We haven't replaced Benteke. We haven't replaced Gallagher. And we still haven't replaced Wan-Bissaka as well. So that is bad recruitment in itself as well. If you combine the manager situation and the lack of recruitment there, this situation is just bigger than Patrick Vieira and Roy Hodgson. This is
a recipe for disaster.
Exactly. You need to bring a new right back for a new manager anyways, because the right back situation ain't good enough. You need to still bring in another forward. So for me, I have serious doubts because they couldn't do the basics. It's not just a case of Vieira being unsuccessful or Roy Hodgson, whether he's going to be successful. It's the fact that it starts from the recruitment. Okay, you don't have faith in Vieira, but we still need a new right back. We still need a new right back because that's why we're in this situation. We still need backup left back. We still need a better forward. We haven't replaced Conor Gallagher even till now because Lokonga doesn't run in the box like Gallagher does. And I'm not saying there's an outright Gallagher replacement out there, but these are things that should have been sorted. We knew that Gallagher was going to leave and go back to Chelsea. So why on earth are we still here after 3 windows or 2 windows still talking about Conor Gallagher? So we're talking about Wan-Bissaka still, or Van Aanholt, or even Benteke. Like these conversations, you have to replace these players and try and improve the squad. And what we've done is we haven't even replaced them. We've regressed like that, in my opinion. So for me, that's why it's open. It's opened my whole view, and that's why for me, I feel like he's hit a ceiling. I think this is it. This is it for Parish. For me,
but I just don't get what ceiling he's hit because he's a pound shop manager, yeah? Like Dem was saying, fine. She's spot on about that. But in terms of the scouting and looking for new talent, one, we've got an academy. So we're going to try and fish all the local talent to start with. The second thing is there's so much talent out there all across the world. Like you can go, like we were saying, Asia, like you said earlier, South America, Turkey, Africa, other parts of Europe, you name it, right? And they would come so cheap. So even if you are a pound shop manager, you can find something good for your budget. Do you see what I'm saying? And we're not really proactive enough.
But that's my problem. That's why I feel like he's hit a ceiling because the recruitment, even though it's been solid for us, if you keep looking at the championship, if you're going to end up selling these players, there's not going to be consistently an Elise or Gehi in the championship or over in France. And that's why I feel like he's hit a ceiling because these are, yes, being great in the short term, but in the long term, if you keep up with this narrow recruitment in terms of just looking at the UK and maybe looking at France, I feel like the France thing was more on Vieira. In all honesty, I do think that because of his influence there. So it's just so limited. That's why I feel like we need someone with fresh ideas, or someone who's willing to invest in the scouting. And if he's not willing to do that, then I feel like this is it. It's going to be consistently trying to stay up, trying to find players that you could probably find better players elsewhere. And it's just the ongoing cycle. That's why for me, I feel like this is limits, just keeping us up and not taking us forward because he hasn't got the money and off the field based on how we've been recruiting past 10 years. I feel like even off the field, he has his limits. Academy, I 100% understand it. But Academy, I don't know if you've seen our older facilities, but it's beyond a joke. They were training at goals. You know what goals is? Yeah, exactly. So it was just, that's just for a Premier League club, the fact that it took us this long is unbelievable. Academy needed to be improved. So he's done the basics, right? But the basics is not going to take us forward, especially if you don't have the money. And off the field, I don't see where he's going to take us to the next step.
No, he can't. He can't take us to the next step, Parish. But hats off to him, man. This is why I love this club, yeah? Because look at us fans. We're all here today talking about this. We come on here routinely. We follow you guys. You guys set this thing up. We follow you. So that's how our fan base is. Look at us. We're such a like, whether we're community based I was born and bred in South London, whether they're in USA or wherever, we're all sticking together and we're all passionate about this thing and we're all here because we care. That's why I love this club. And that's why I respect what Parish has done until now. You know, I got to have a lot of respect for the guy, but he has definitely hit a ceiling for sure. And like everything, man, there comes a time where you got to say goodbye, innit?
Yeah, you
So
have to.
maybe now is the time. It's the best time to leave for sure. But it would be nice to stay up, even if we do go down, man. I still see that as another opportunity to rebuild, but the much longer route, admittedly so.
Yeah, I mean, why do we need to go? I don't agree with the going down option. We can't go down because going down, you have to invest money to go back up because the championship is ruthless. It's very hard. Even look at the table right now. Every season is very difficult to get promoted. There's nowhere on earth we can get relegated. It's just crazy that after 10 years we're still talking about relegation. Like, when are we going to move on from this topic? And the thing is, it's not a case of, this is why I get frustrated. It's not a case of we're talking about relegation. It's the fact that we can see the downfalls. We can see the lack of investment over the long run. And that is the main reason why I feel like we're struggling. Yes, we brought in some good players, but we're still talking about positions we need to strengthen. And that's why, for me, you know, something needs to change. But for you mentioned that now could be the time for Parish to leave. But do you think he will leave? I don't think he will. Why would he leave? 3 million, well, reportedly anyways, £3 million or dollars. I don't know how he's getting paid. That he's getting paid annually. Do you think, you know, he will step down?
He won't leave, and let me tell you, he will be in the club up until the same age as Roy, probably more, because Palace is his life's achievement. Don't forget when he got us out of the dirt with the fans backing as well. Obviously, I was there at the bank when that all kicked off, and yeah, he won't lay off. This is his pride and joy, man. Why do you think that he doesn't give investors the say? Because he feels in his heart of hearts that, you know, he should be having the last say because he knows what's best. This is his baby, Palace, for him. You know what I'm saying? He loves it just like we do. And that's why he wants Roy back, because Roy loves the club just like we do. But it doesn't end there, does it? It's not just about because you love it. It's, yeah, you love it, but do you know what is best right now to do realistically? And no, you don't always know just because you love it. So, yeah. For me, though, I'm excited, for Leicester. I've got to be honest. Moving forward, I'm really excited to see how Roy is going to line up this Palace side now with these new players. It will be interesting.
How do you think it's going to be?
Look, I don't think he's going to play Luka. You know that, because think about it. Yeah. If Lukonga's available to play and Doucouré, he's not going to drop either of them, is he? I mean, he'd be absolutely mad for Luka to drop either of them.
He did have his favourites in the past. I remember, like, we was watching and it was the same old. But I mean, he might go for the more experienced option. You never know. I don't know how he's thinking. That's the element that we're going to see. I don't know how Roy's thinking with this squad. Does he think that we're in a relegation battle? We just need the more experienced players. I'm not too sure, because another thing with Doucouré is, I don't know if people realize, but his English isn't that great, and he
Yeah.
communicated. I think even with Lukonga as well, and with Vieira, they will communicate like with with French. You can see it at times as well with the Palace video. So his English is sort of improving. So you might think, well, I need everyone on board. Communication needs to be key. Last 10 games, experience, go for it. I don't know how I was thinking. I think that'd be wild. I feel like you should still go with the better players. But then again, it might be like 17-18 season, right, where we just start, having some good football. Where it's not. And start getting results, because it wasn't that bad in the 17-18 season. He kept us up, and we had some good games. I think we beat Leicester 5-0 or something crazy like that. I don't know if it's that season or the season after. So it depends on what Roy we have. Yeah, but it depends on how he sees the thing. So this squad, I do think have got the attack in place to go at teams. But then Roy, as we've seen in the past, and with his thinking, he likes to be more cautious. And if he likes to be more cautious, and we're talking about 10 games to keep us up, does he just think about, we can't lose this game, so let's defend and not lose this game and try to pick up points? Because if we lose to Leicester, it'll be much worse. So it depends on if he has that cautious mentality. That's the question that I can't answer, you can't answer, no one can answer until we see the Leicester game. And that's why you're probably excited about it. But then again, if he is cautious, then he can also backbite. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, it depends on the mentality he approaches it. But maybe Paddy McCarthy, as you said, having him alongside him, a younger manager who knows the players as well, knows Wilf well as well, some of the academy players, maybe that will help him as well. But in the biggest question is, do you think we'll stay up?
Yeah, I think we'll stay up. I think it's gonna. You know what? I think it's gonna go better than we thought as well. Look, the only thing though, based on one thing, I hope that over this 2-week break, the McCarthy and Hodgson and all the coaching team and the football club, the team as a whole, really, really work on their fitness over the 2 week, because I noticed the fitness was peak. Like it was really bad, bruv. Like they're not fit in it. Let's be honest. They don't look that fit at the moment. You can tell. I mean, Elise did, mind you, was doing a lot of running, but the rest of them, I weren't so sure about. Papa, Elise, and Mitchell. The rest didn't look too fit to me, man. I've got to be honest. So if they can get the fitness levels up, use a 2 week to sort of just disconnect, get their head straight, and go, look, all we got is 10 games ahead. We can stay up and find a nice, maybe a new formation even, man. I'm open to that. I'm open to see Schlupp in left back or left mid. Actually, Schlupp's not bad left mid, believe it or not. In left mid, he can play. But yeah, no centre mid. Yeah, I'm happy to that. I'm happy. Or like Zaha as a centre forward and Edouard as an out-and-out striker. See what I mean? Because Zaha's got good hold-up play, and he could free Edouard to run in behind. So something like that, I'm open to it, man. But I look forward to it. I think we're going to see something different. But whether it will work or not, I'm not sure. I just think it will. And I think it's going to go better than what we thought. Hold me to it, though.
No, hopefully. I think we'll stay up as well. But then again, as I said before, I don't know if we can stay up comfortably. It depends on what Roy we get and if these players turn up. But we can also stay up comfortably. Like, I truly believe that Roy's got in him to, win 3-4 games as well. If it's the Roy that when he first joined us. But then this could also go horribly wrong. It could get much worse. I mean, we could potentially, not score any goals and then, struggle against sides, because with Vieira, as much as, you wanted him out, he was against tougher opponents. So if we have the same outcomes against sides that are below us, then, that for me, that'll be worse. So there's high expectations in these games that we need to be performing. So yeah, we'll see where we head towards, but interesting times at the football club. Really, next 10 games, massive. Then after that, I don't know what's gonna happen at this rate. But any other things that you want to say, bro?
No, that's it for me, man. I just look forward to it. I'm trying to stay positive.
Yeah, I'm trying to stay positive as well. At the start of the show, people were saying you lot want Roy in. I was like, it sounds like it, but I'm trying to find the positives. He is here. There's no point saying, oh, I hate Roy and this, that. I will say one thing. I did hate the football under Roy, but it was
stable, isn't it?
It was stable.
He used to somehow always get us results.
No, but it depends. It depends how you look at it. Because towards the end, I'll say this, and I'll admit right now, if he stayed on a season after than he did, I feel like we could have went down with him. I don't think it was as stable as that. I think it was getting very predictable, bro. Like very predictable.
Yeah.
But
Sit
it
back,
was getting very
counter.
predictable. Towards the end, it was getting very predictable. And I feel like if we didn't make the decision to get rid of him, the following season, we could have got relegated with him as well. So there's two ways of looking about it. There's some positives and negatives at his time at Palace, but we will see. I mean, we'll see what happens anyways.
One thing though, yeah, just remember, with Roy, we spent 40 million approximately. And how long was he with us? Just about 6 years. 5-6 seasons, I think, something like that. With Vieira, he was with us for 2 seasons, let's say now, it's the end of this one. Yeah, we spent double the amount, if not just over double.
Now he's got the players though. I'll say that he's got the players. That statement is being used by people that were a fan of Roy Hodgson, saying that we should have kept him and backed him. But now he's got the players. He's got the players against weaker opponents.
Yeah,
so
exactly. So
I
let's
don't think he
see.
spent the money exactly. Yeah.
Let's see if he can do better with this same bunch than Vieira. That's the real test now, isn't it? But me, I never wanted Hodgson anyway. Just to get that clear, I wanted Vieira out, but I didn't want Hodgson in. But let's see. All we can do is see now, isn't it?
Exactly. So, yeah. All we can do is see. But look, appreciate you coming on, bro.
All right, man. See you later.
All right, take care. That was Aaron. Look, I'm going to wrap it up. We've been going over 2 hours. There's been some great calls today, some great comments as well. As always, if you have enjoyed it, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Let's keep the channel growing. Some great callers today. And also, as I said, great comments as well. Thanks to everyone who's tuned in live. We'll be back throughout this week. I don't know what we'll be talking about now that Roy is here, but maybe there might be transfer news. So yeah, so if you haven't already done so, make sure to subscribe. We'll be back for the live match reaction as well if nothing does happen before that period, but I'm pretty sure we'll be back probably tomorrow, knowing us. So yeah, look, thanks everyone who's tuning in live. And until next time, up the Palace.